Hey guys, this is Udysof and welcome to my in-depth Jarvan guide. I've been a challenger jungler for over half a decade. I played at Worlds in 2018 and I coached at MSI in 2021. So now I'm compiling all of my knowledge and bringing it to YouTube. I hope you enjoy the video. So the first thing we need to know when we're getting into this video is actually what is going to be inside the video. So on screen right now, I've got the table of contents for you guys, which is detailing everything that I'm going to be covering. If you want to know exact timestamps, they'll be in the description, so you can skip around and check out the whole video in parts if you'd like to do that. Otherwise, sit back, relax. It's going to be a long one. Also, disclaimer, I do look very different throughout different portions of this video because I recorded this over about a 3-month period. So I hope you guys enjoy and let's get into it. So first things first, who is this guide actually for? Well, this guide is for 3 types of people, and let's head into the first one. The first group of people are just beginners, players who are new to Jarvan but struggling to make him feel impactful, or maybe he feels weak to them. These types of players are probably 20 games into Jarvan, maybe even less than that, and they just don't get it. Maybe he feels really underpowered at times. Maybe you're making a bunch of mistakes when engaging. There are so many things that could be going wrong in your Jarvan gameplay, or maybe things are going well for you and you just want to find a way to improve. Beginners, this guide is perfect for you. The next group of people is Jarvan players in general. Players who are already playing Jarvan but need a new perspective or feel like they've hit a plateau. So maybe you've played 50 games of Jarvan, 100 games of Jarvan, even more, and you just don't know where the next level is. You see some higher elo Jarvans doing some crazy stuff, but you just don't know how to hit it off with your own gameplay. This guide is going to have a bunch of things that you probably haven't even seen before, because I've done a bunch of research for this guide and I've tried to include everything there is to know about Jarvan. So stay tuned and stick around for that. And the next and final group of people is League of Legends nerds. If you're looking to improve your knowledge of Jarvan to play him but also beat him, you don't even need to be a jungle main to watch this video. This video is going to give you a bunch of details about Jarvan, and if you're a laner, if you're a support, whatever it may be, it's going to give you a bunch of information on how to counter Jarvan as well in game. And the last thing before we transition to the next slide is, if you've played any of these champions down here below, you're probably going to have a pretty good upper hand at learning Jarvan. Vi, Xin Zhao, Nocturne, Lee Sin, Volibear are all champions that have some very big similarities between Jarvan in how they play and how their abilities work, and also a lot of differences that you're going to notice between the champions as well. So if you've played these guys, it's probably going to help you out. So for you guys who are dedicated to learning Jarvan, I think it's really important for you guys to understand where I come from in my journey learning Jarvan, because many years ago I was absolutely terrible at Jarvan. I remember in 2019 I was playing a competitive match and I was the sole reason me and my team lost the game, and I remember it vividly. I remember the plays, I remember everything I did wrong in that game, and I lost it playing Jarvan for my team. It was really sad and I felt really bad, and it's stuck in my brain, and from that day onwards I wanted to get better at Jarvan. So I've been playing Jarvan religiously since season 8, and this was when I was dropped down to the academy level. I was actually replaced by a Korean import back when I was 19 years old, and I vowed to be the best jungler in my region in OCE, but also the best Jarvan, because no one was really good at him and I thought I was the best, but I thought I needed to be even better at Jarvan to continue playing him. So how did I actually get better at Jarvan? For me, it was focusing on the finer details that made me better at Jarvan. I obsessed over every single EQ that I missed. I reviewed it in replays and understanding how to optimize my skill shot accuracy. That was the biggest thing for me. I had really good understanding of the game. I had a good macro sense. I had a good understanding of my pathing. But when it came to actual skirmishes, I was noticing I was missing too many EQs. I was not throwing my Qs out for damage enough. All of these finer little details of the damage details of Jarvan was what made me a bad Jarvan player. And I remember back when I was playing in a gaming house, I had a teammate. His name was Dragon. Shout out to him. He absolutely bullied me to all end because I was so bad at hitting my skill shots on Jarvan, and he drilled me every single day. And one day it snapped in my brain and I was finally hitting 90% of my EQs on Jarvan, 95, 99% of them, and I felt like a monster. So that was the big thing that changed things for me. And the final thing, it took me an extreme amount of mental focus and dedication to get to the place I'm at. So for you guys, taking notes on your matchups is also super important. I remember in solo queue, I kept getting beat by a guy who would play Shaco. He was a Shaco one trick. So I watched 5 VODs of his personal VODs. Then I watched over 5 more VODs of random Shaco VODs. I watched all the clears. I watched all the times that they were weak, and I found ways to defeat this guy. And every single time I versed this guy as Jarvan, Jarvan, he would type in all chat, he'd be like, I guess we lose, because I would dominate him in the early game from understanding how Shakos play. And this is what I did for a bunch of my matchups. So this is a really important thing for you guys to take in. When you are one-tricking Jarvan, when you are mastering Jarvan, it is so important to know when your opponents are weak, know when you are strong, and when you can take advantage of these guys. So that's my personal history with Jarvan and how I got to where I am at a challenger great level at Jarvan. So I hope you guys can apply that, and let's continue into the guide. All right, guys, so there's a few things that I want you guys to keep in mind when we are learning Jarvan. And the first thing is, since Jarvan uses half of his kit to engage, he is super unforgiving with no escapes. Jarvan uses his E and his Q to go in. He's a pretty old school champion. He uses 2 entire abilities just for his engage. There's not many champions that are coming out, season 12 champions like Agshan and stuff like that. They're not using 2 abilities for 1 engage. So when you use your abilities as Jarvan, you have to be really, really strict. Jarvan is a timing champion. You need to hold those abilities and wait for your moments. You just can't throw them willy-nilly, otherwise you will be a bad Jarvan player. So the key thing to keep in mind is saving those abilities, saving those cooldowns for key moments in fights. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is, in the process of learning Jarvan, you're gonna die a lot. As I said, all of his kit is basically going in, so you are going to die. If you make a single error in your fights, you're usually going to get blown up and punished for it, and that's just the way Jarvan's learned, and that's the way you're going to improve. So games can be decided early as Jarvan. He's a very strong powerhouse in the early game, but they can also be lost. Don't fear these mistakes, but I need you guys to take notes and move on from these mistakes. But do not accept the same mistakes. If you mess up and you don't time someone's flash, you EQ on them and they flash away, you guys cannot accept that same mistake in the next game. You got to note that down. You got to say, hey, I got to be conscious of these flashes. I got to be conscious of maybe you're versing a Lucian, his dash. Being conscious of mistakes you'll make as Jarvan, really important, and make sure you don't let yourself repeat them over and over again. We're here to learn and we're here to improve. The final thing I want to make reference to is the fact that Jarvan's deaths are going to be categorized in 2 types of ways. So there's going to be knowledge gap deaths and there's going to be micro gap deaths. And what do I mean by this? When it comes to knowledge gap, this is things that you should be thinking of. This is things that you should know. Enemies having flashes, as I mentioned before. Ezreal having E. Maybe you're up against a Gnar and he's in mega form and you engage, you ult him, and then that Gnar ults you straight into your wall and he stuns you against it. This is knowledge gap. You need to take into account all of the things in your surroundings as you're taking these fights, as you're taking these skirmishes, and you need to understand what your limitations and what you should be playing around as Jarvan. And then the final one is micro gap. So micro gap is just how you execute with your abilities. I'm talking about hitting those EQs. I'm talking about using your Q for damage sometimes, using your W effectively to slow a target on a gank, using your R to buffer CC. So your R actually can make you immune. I just did this today. You can actually get thresh hooked, but R at the same time, and it counters the thresh hook. It negates the thresh hook actually hitting you. So micro mistakes are going to be a big killer for Jarvan, and this was the problem that I had when learning Jarvan. So identify what's your main issues on Jarvan. Are you a micro gap player? Are you a knowledge gap player? Or maybe there's both that you're running into issues with that. What's your problems? Figure them out, write them down, and progress from there. Before we get into the combos, we need to know a few Jarvan details to understand these combos. So the first one is E gives you attack speed and also all of your allies. So say you're sieging down a turret, throw your E down and it'll give your ADC a bunch of attack speed. Team fight, skirmishes, wherever it is, throwing your E down will give you a bunch of attack speed. Also, it gives you assists. So say your teammate's about to get a kill, throw your E down, it gives them attack speed and you get that assist gold. Really, really nice tip to know. Second thing, casting your E out of range will instantly cast your E down at max range. So say you hover over the Baron pit and you press your E button. It's not going to make you walk all the way to the Baron pit. You're just going to throw your E at max range and then you're able to follow with a Q. So don't worry about Eing out of the range and then waiting for your Q to occur. Just EQ and your EQ will come out fluidly. Next thing you need to know is your first auto on an enemy champion does current HP damage. This is Jarvan's passive, so if you can open with an auto attack, it is going to do more damage than if you used your full combo then auto attacked the enemy champion. Something really nice to keep in mind when you're trying to maximize damage. The fourth thing we need to know is that your Q shreds armor. So say you're not able to actually engage in a team fight with your EQ, still keep in mind that you should be throwing your Qs out, which allow your teammates to do extra damage. Say you're sitting back with your ADC, throw your Q out, and your ADC is going to do much more damage to them because the enemy has their armor shredded. Fifth thing, your E does magic damage. This is just something to keep in mind when you are versing maybe a comp that is early rushing armor. You can actually max your E first instead of your Q. Now, this is a pretty rare scenario, and also your Q does give armor shred, so it's still pretty valuable, but your E will do slightly more damage in the early game if you max it than your Q if you're versing a bunch of armor. It's a very rare use case scenario, but maybe those 1% of games you're going to be able to max your E second. I mean, your E first. And it also gives you a bonus attack speed, so if you need a bunch of attack speed in the early game, maxing your E first may be an option for you, but very rare. Number 6, your R can be recast to remove the wall. So most people know this by now, but if you do not, when you use your R on someone and it brings all the big walls up, you can actually press your R again after like half a second and it will take the walls down, so you don't trap your ADC in a cataclysm, or maybe you're gonna die in there, drop the walls and run away. And for the final thing you need to know is you can flash during your EQ to extend the knock-up range. Now I'm going to be showing this off throughout the combo section and its own little personalized section, so this is just something that I want you guys to know, and we're going to head into it with more details. So let's head on. Okay guys, so welcome to the combo portion of the video. I'm going to be taking you through all the basic and complicated Jarvan combos that you need to know when learning Jarvan. So first things first is obviously the basic bread and butter, the EQ. So I'm going to walk into range of my E here. I'm going to EQ, auto this guy, and that is the first thing you need to know. The EQ auto, very, very simple. Something for you guys to know though about the EQ that's really important is that you can actually knock someone up without dealing the Q damage. So right here, I'm slightly out of the dummy range and I'm slightly out of its range with my Q. But here, I'm going to EQ and I'm still going to knock it up. See, still knocks up. But the caveat is you miss that Q damage. See, it says a total of 240. If we hit the EQ and the auto attack, it's a total of 400. So something you guys need to keep in mind is you can still hit knockups at maximum range, but you're not going to be doing damage with your Q. And this is really important because you max Q first, so you don't want to be missing that damage if you need it. Okay guys, so I'm going to be showing you the maximum damage combo now. All you're going to be doing here is opening up with an auto, then an EQ, and then an auto. So I'm going to show you auto, EQ, auto. That is going to give you your maximum damage. Now, the reason you start with an auto is because you can utilize your martial cadence passive. It does 8% current health physical damage. So the higher the HP of the enemy, the more damage you're going to be getting out of that passive auto. Now, you can also continue this combo with your R as well. So that is going to be auto attack, EQ, R, auto attack. That is going to give you the optimal damage. Now, some people might be wondering, oh, why don't you auto EQ, auto R? And the reason for that is it just does slightly more damage if you R before your auto because of your Conqueror stacks. And also it is a faster combo. So I'm going to show you the slower combo, which is auto EQ, auto R. Does 756 damage and it is slightly slower. Now I'm going to show you the fast combo, which is auto EQ R auto. That is 761. Oh, I hit it too many times, but it was 761, so it was about 5 more damage or something. Negligible differences, but it was also faster, and that's what you want. Okay, so something you guys need to keep in mind when doing this combo is you can actually R too quickly and it'll cancel your knockup. So see here, I'm going to auto EQ R auto. The dummy didn't actually get knocked up there. So what you want to do is auto EQ, wait for your knockup to hit, then R. Because once the enemy is knocked up, then they can't flash away and you are guaranteeing your R damage. If you use your R too early, it'll cancel your knockup, and then the enemy has a chance to flash out of your R and avoid the damage. So make sure you hit that knockup, then R, not like that, and then you will deal the most optimal damage. Another great combo for you guys to know is the e+q+flash. Now, e+q+flash, I'm going to show you here on the little scuttle fella. Hopefully I don't mess it up. There you go. I missed my EQ there. My flag wasn't going to hit it, but I flashed into him, knocking this up, and he lost his shield. That combo is really, really good to know when you are going for ganks. But a thing you need to know about the e+q+flash is it doesn't deal any damage to the enemy champ. If I use my EQ on him, obviously, this man's going to go down to 836 HP. But I'm going to show you, if I EQ+flash him, he's going to take 0 damage. So EQ, flash into him. He got knocked up, but he took no damage. And that's because when you EQ, it turns Jarvan into like a mobile knock-up. It turns his hitbox into a knock-up, but it doesn't deal any damage because the damage is all tied to where your abilities are placed. Keep that in mind when you are using the EQ+flash, that if you have follow-up damage, it's fantastic to use the EQ+flash, but if no one is able to follow up on your EQ+flash, then there is going to be no damage because you used it to close the gap. So use the EQ+flash with care. And the final thing I want to showcase to you guys is not traditionally a combo, but it's just a way to play Jarvan and a way to use his W effectively. So when you're going for a gank, say this is an enemy champion, this little scuttle, instead of using the EQ, if you're able to come from behind and flank them, you can use your W, slow them down, and then just auto attack them. You can build up your Conqueror stacks, and then if the enemy decides to flash, you can then follow it with an EQ. Now, that's just a really, really nice way to optimize your damage because you're going to be getting more damage out of your Q when your Conqueror stacks are built. I can't build Conqueror stacks up, unfortunately, on the scuttle. But if you get what I'm saying, use your W to allow you to get autos. Then the enemy will flash out of fear. You can then track them with your EQ. So, not a combo, but something definitely to keep in mind with your W. Okay, guys, so this is going to be the advanced engage combos and just combos in general for Jarvan. You're going to be using these in team fights and skirmishes to get out engages and the most damage. So the first one I'm going to showcase to you is the engage combo on a target that has something like Flash, Zhonya's, Gale Force. Anything where they can get away from you with ease, this is the combo you need to use. It is the e+q+flash auto attack R. I'm going to show that to you now. So that is the e+q+flash auto attack R. The reason you do this is because the enemy is not going to be able to react to your flash. See? The flash, when you flash on the head of the, well, dummy in this case, but the enemy champion, the knockup is instantaneous. So they can't use any abilities to react to it. If you use flash first, look how much time they have to react to that EQ. They can get out of it. They can Gale Force. They can Ezreal E. Whatever it is, they are able to dodge that. So that's why you use your flash after the EQ to ensure that knockup. Now, if the enemy has used their cooldowns or they don't have flashes, whatever it is, then by all means, here's the next combo. It is the Flash Q Auto R. The Flash EQ Auto R. That obviously is going to give you the most damage because now you are also hitting your EQ damage. So again, Flash, EQ, Auto, and R. This is going to give you the most damage, but again, keep in mind, it is not going to be an instantaneous knockup, so the enemy has a chance to dodge that. So that's the main combo that I want you to know there. So the final combo I want you guys to know for team fighting isn't actually a combo. It's more of a way of thinking about Jarvan than anything. When you are trying to engage fights, sometimes it's really good to actually save your EQ for an escape. So say the enemy team is team fighting here and they are ready to fight you at Dragon. Something that you can do is, if you want to engage, you can flash R and then EQ out. And you can knock up a bunch of these guys. And in your flash R, you can weave in an auto as well. So that's a really, really nice combo. Instead of doing this EQ, then Ring, just the flash R instantly damaging everyone. And then you can EQ all of them in there, or you can EQ out. Whatever it is, opening up with your R, depending on the situation, is really good. So again, I'll remind you, a couple of the options you have are the flash R EQ out, And then there is also the Flash R auto EQ in. There's a bunch of combos that you guys can do in regards to how you use that EQ to get out. I want you to stay present of using that R as the primary engage and saving your EQ instead of using your EQ first. So yeah, really, really nice for you guys to keep in mind. Also, a nice thing on that is when you use your R, your Cataclysm, it actually groups people up. So to make hitting your EQ easier. So again, really nice thing to do. I always see Jarvans open up with the EQ, then they R, but R can sometimes be fantastic to use first. All right, so now let's talk about the EQ flash, because this is something that I have personally had a lot of trouble with in the past, because if you mess up that EQ flash, that is a 5-minute cooldown. Well, because I have Cosmic Insight, it's a little bit slower, but traditionally flash is a 5-minute cooldown. So if you ever miss this like that and you EQ, you wait for the EQ to finish and then you flash, you're not going to be able to knock anyone up, because look at this, you finish it, then you flash, no knock up. And I've done this countless times. So I'm going to be teaching you guys how to practice the EQ knock up. And there is no real secrets. There is no real way around this besides practice and hard work and dedication to getting good at it. So this is what I used to do. Back in the day, I used to play in the OPL, which was the Oceanic Pro League down here in OCE. And before every single game, we had 10 minutes of warm-up that we would test our peripherals before the game actually started. So what would I do? I would get into a custom game and I would put down a bunch of dummies. I would turn on the cooldown thing where I get my cooldowns back. I would practice EQ flashing 1,000 times, just over and over again. I would do that for 10 minutes until I perfected my timing. And then I would get more complicated with it. So if you feel like you're getting better with your EQ flashes, then what I would do is I would EQ this guy and then flash into that guy. And I would make sure I knock this one up. And then I would flash that one to get double knockups. And then sometimes I'd make it a little bit more complicated. So then I would add another one. So then I would hit 2 guys with my knockup. Oh, and I messed it up there. Like, it's very easy to mess up. But I'd EQ and I messed it up again. EQ. And I flashed that guy, just knocked up 3 people. And I would practice these things. And then I'd get a little bit more exciting with it. And I'd practice different mechanics, like with my R. And I would practice my combos. So I'd go EQ, flash, auto R, trying to do my maximum damage combos. And it's really, really rusty. It's really, really hard to do. But that's what I would practice. EQ, flash, auto R. A little bit slow there for me. So not going to go crazy with it. Not going to tell you any secrets, crazy tips. But that is what I would recommend you guys doing. I'd recommend you go into practice tool, just practicing on these dummies. I'd recommend you practice different angles, flashing from the side. I messed it up there. I'd recommend you going straight forward, hitting him like that. I would recommend you going to the side, practicing on multiple dummies, comboing with your R, all these things to do. That is how you practice. If you guys need any other help, or maybe if someone has a better way of practicing this, I'd love to know it, but this is how I've done this for the past 4 years. You've probably seen footage of me practice, whatever. Doesn't matter. You've seen the footage. You've seen how it's done. Let's get on to the next part of the video, guys. Hope that helps. All right, guys. So welcome to advanced Jarvan mechanics. Now, there's going to be 2 advanced mechanics that we're going to be going over for this video. And the first one I want to showcase to you guys is buffering stuns, CC, knockups, whatever it may be that's going to stop you from moving with Jarvan EQ. Also, something to keep in mind, binds and snares, so like Morgana bind and Lux's Q, you can actually EQ during them while you can't move and you'll still get dragged by the EQ. But things like stuns, knockups, all of them you can't typically EQ during, so this is going to showcase how to get out of those. And also hooks, obviously, here with Blitzcrank. Let's just watch me with this Blitzcrank here, and I'm going to showcase to you guys how I actually dodge the Blitz hook. So as you saw there, Blitz has hooked me, and as I've been hooked, I EQ and it counters the hook. Okay, so now let's actually break it down frame by frame of how this works. So here we go. Blitzcrank has thrown out his hook, and I am now EQing. But Blitzcrank's hook is going to hit me before my EQ goes out. So I am CC'd, but I've used my abilities, and now after the Blitzcrank hook hits me, I am going to get dragged to my flag. It bugs out a little bit, but you can see there I jumped to the flag. So what you need to do when buffering, stuns, knockups, hooks, you need to use your EQ just before you get hit, but so that it activates after you get hit. Because if you EQ prematurely and get knocked up as you're EQing, then it will actually cancel your EQ. If you get hooked as it connects, it will cancel the EQ. So you need to make sure that you're getting stunned, you're getting knocked up, and you're getting pulled before your EQ lands, and then after it hits, it connects, and it will drag you out of that stun. So that's how you perform the buffer. Let's head on to the next advanced mechanic. All right, guys, so for the second advanced mechanic, I'm going to be showcasing you here how to cancel movement abilities with your R. Now, this is the hardest mechanic Jarvan has, but it can be one of the most rewarding. So things like jumps, dashes, gale forces, things that aren't instantaneous dodges or blinks can be cancelled by Jarvan's R. So here I've got Tristana, and I'm going to showcase to you how we can cancel her W with Jarvan's ultimate. So let's go and watch that together. So R, and see there, she was jumping, and the corner of this R has hit her out of her jump. So this terrain, as it comes up, is like an Anivia wall, any type of terrain that gets created, and it can cancel people's mobilities. People doing gale force, a bunch of things can be cancelled by this. So it is really, really hard to get the timing down. I actually did practice this a bunch, but it is something that you guys can do as well. So let's go watch it one more time, a little bit slower. You're gonna wait for the animation to come through. We see Tristana starts jumping, and now I've R'd, and it cancels her halfway through the jump, because you can't do this too early, guys. If you do this while the enemy is in this area, they're not going to get stunned. And if you do it while they're past the wall, it's not going to get stunned. You actually have to hit them in the Jarvan wall radius. It's really, really hard with the timing, but I promise if you guys practice this and you try this in game, it will work a bunch of times. There are so many abilities that I can show you guys for this. Lucian E, Tristana W, whatever kind of jump, maybe even a Callista hop. There is a bunch of mobility spells in the game. So this is something for you guys to keep in mind, and I really want you to try this out sometimes. It will fail. I fail this all the time. You can also do this on blast cones. Final thing I'll mention, you can do this on blast cones. I try this all the time on blast cones, and it fails 24/7, but when you do get it, it is insane, and you get an awesome kill out of it. So guys, keep that in mind, and let's head on to the next part of the video. All right, so here is our matchup tier list for Jarvan. We're going to be looking at up here in the higher S tier. This is going to be tough matchups for Jarvan, and then down here in the D tier is going to be easy matchups, and then varying difficulties in between. So if we take a look down here at the bottom D tier, you can see very weak early game junglers. And what is Jarvan? He's a strong early game jungler, so he is the complete opposite of these champions, and he is going to be able to dominate them early and probably snowball a victory, because these guys don't do too much in the early game against them at all. In the C tier here, we've got more scaling type champions or early game gankers like Nunu and Rammus, but they're not the best duelists. These champions don't really impact Jarvan too much in the early game, and they're not going to be able to stop him early snowballing. In the B tier here, we have varying champions. They are all very, very different, but all of these champions in the 1v1 can match Jarvan, or they can counter him in some kind of way. I'm looking at Lee Sin, he can match Jarvan. I'm looking at Rengar. If he catches you in the wrong spot, he can kill you very easily. Same with Trundle. A lot of these champions are just quite even into Jarvan. You go to a team fight, even as either of these champions up against Jarvan, it's going to be a 50-50 team fight to see who actually wins it and who plays it better. In the A tier, these are matchups that are going to start to get a little bit tougher for Jarvan, but also still very winnable for Jarvan. I'm looking at a champ like Talia. Now that her E got changed, Jarvan can no longer EQ over her E because it stuns him. Kayn is just really hard for Jarvan to shut down because he can obviously Q over his wall. He can E through it. Karthus. Jarvan is an engaged champion, and if you're engaging on Karthus in team fights as Jarvan, you're probably just losing because he's just going to die anyways, go into passive and kill you. It's pretty tough that way. So all of these matchups, again, very playable, but not ideal for Jarvan. And then here, let's talk more in the S tier. I'll go a little bit more in depth with these champions. What do these champions have all in common? Early game power, 1. Abilities to terrain scale, and also they can scale and power farm. So all of these champions take advantage of Jarvan's weaknesses. Jarvan, if he can get matched in the early game, can just kind of suck if you ever make a mistake with your EQ. Like Nidalee can jump out with a W. Kindred and Graves can use their E or Q respectively to dodge EQs. If you ever miss those abilities as Jarvan, they are going to run you down and they're going to kill you in the early game. They also out farm you. So in a neutral game where you are unable to pressure early as Jarvan, if Kindred is farming, Graves is farming, Nidalee is farming, they're going to be able to scale harder into the late game than you do. So all of these champions are pretty damn hard for you to deal with, and even when it comes to team fights, you can't R them because they're just going to jump out of your R anyway. So I really hate playing these matchups. It's pretty damn frustrating. I don't like going up against these champions. Again, all champion matchups are winnable in League of Legends, especially in the jungle, because in the jungle there are so many more things for you to influence when it comes to the map, objectives, and lanes. So it's not over if you're up against these matchups, but I don't like playing them. So that's my thoughts on my matchup tier list. If you guys have any thoughts, questions about matchups, maybe you thought some of them were wrong. To be fair, probably in this A, B, and C tier, some can change up and down, but it's generally correct in my mind. If you have any more thoughts though, let me know in the comments below. So say you've picked up Jarvan and you've put him into your wheelhouse of champions. When is it actually ideal for you to pick Jarvan? When is it your time to shine as Jarvan? Well, Jarvan pairs well with a few types of champions, and all for various different reasons. So I've got examples and types of champions to talk about. So the first one is going to be scalers, and it's pretty obvious why Jarvan would be good with scalers. Jarvan can build tank in the late game. He can be a frontline, and he is also very strong in the early game with his level 2 ganks, his level 3 ganks. He is a great duelist. So with these weaker champions, you're looking at Azir, GP, Jinx, Aphelios, whoever it may be, weaker champions in the early game, their weaknesses will be counteracted by Jarvan's strengths. If the enemy tries to press your weak laners, then Jarvan can come through and punish them and deny them from beating your lanes, and then they can scale into the late game, and then you can use your CC with your EQ and your R to set up for these guys to carry you later into the game. So that's why scalers are the perfect pairing for Jarvan. Second is AP solo laners. As Jarvan, you are an AD champion. You're obviously going to want to have some form of AP on your team to round out a good team composition. So all of these champions are great with Jarvan for various different reasons. Someone like a Vladimir and a Xerath and a Veigar as well scale really hard into the late game. But something more like a Lissandra, maybe even a Katarina, a Vex, spike more in the mid game. Lissandra especially mid and early game. These different types of champions will give you different kinds of win conditions, but having AP is really nice with Jarvan. The third type of champion you want is an engage champion. So most of these are supports, except you see Malphite as a top laner, Galio is a mid laner, and also Sion in the top lane. These engage champions are really, really nice pairings with Jarvan, because when you're going in as Jarvan, you are usually a primary engaged champion. You are throwing yourself in, you are R'ing, you are EQing, you are going in first, and you're making things happen. Usually, if you don't have anyone to follow up on that engage, team fights are not going to go that well for you. So having a champion to pair alongside you with that engage is really, really nice. Something to keep in mind, though, is champions like Nautilus, if you are, and they hook, they're going to hook your R, and they're not going to hook a champion, and that would be really bad. So just keep that in mind. But other than that, really, really nice champions to pair with Jarvan. And then the final thing that is really, really nice on Jarvan is pushing lanes. Pushing lanes are... When I see this as Jarvan, I think, okay, we're winning this game in 15 minutes. Because if I have a Lucian mid, if I have a Jace top, a Renekton top, these champions that are pressure powerhouses, that means I'm allowed to impact the enemy jungle matchup now. Say I'm up against a weak Evelynn in the early game. Say I'm even up against something that's stronger, like a Lee Sin. With the power of these pushing lanes, it means I can walk into the enemy jungle and push them off their camps. I can fight them, and I know that I'm going to have this champion in my back pocket if the fight goes bad or the fight is going well and the enemy team starts to rotate. It's going to turn into an early skirmish, and because we're Jarvan and we're early fighting pushing champions, we're going to be able to win those skirmishes and snowball the early game into early objectives, early towers, early heralds, whatever it may be. You're going to be able to take over the game with these pushing champs. So these are actually my favorite type of champion to be paired with in the meta right now. I think playing a fast, quick game of League of Legends is 100% the best way to do it as Jarvan, but all these others are great too. Pushing lanes are my favorite, so yeah, that's who you should pick with Jarvan. So the next thing we need to know is our runes. So our runes as Jarvan, we've got 2 rune pages here for you today. First page is the standard one that I go about 95% of my games. This is Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand. We've got Magical Footwear, Cosmic Insight, the attack speed rune, the AD rune, and then the health per level. Now, this is a standard basic page, but I do need to let you guys know that some of these do change. Sometimes if the enemy team doesn't have much CC, then I will go the attack speed rune because the tenacity is unnecessary. Some games I will also go coup de grace if I feel like I am going to be a damage dealer, because when I am as Jarvan, I'm going in and I'm bursting the enemy out. I want to use my coup de grace damage in the early game to just finish off fights. Then I will also take that. But Last Stand and Tenacity, great for those games that are going to go a little bit longer in towards the level 15 mark. When the games are getting to full out team fights, these runes are probably the best for you. In your secondaries, Magical Footwear is just really nice on Jarvan. The extra movement speed, the free boots is really nice. Cosmic Insight, great for cooldown reduction on your flash. The more flashes you can get as Jarvan, the better, because you can flash on those carries and kill them. Attack speed is obviously a must take on most junglers. Damage, obviously really good for your early game. And then the scaling HP rune. Most games I will take this because the scaling HP rune becomes more effective than armor and magic resist once you hit level 5, but pre-level 5 the armor and magic resist runes are more effective. So if I'm up against really invade heavy matchups, maybe against that Kindred, that Graves, maybe even a Lee Sin, skirmishing early, I will sometimes choose an armor rune. And also I'm against a heavy AP champion, maybe like a Nidalee, and the enemy mid laner is also a Lissandra. When I'm going to be skirmishing AP, I'll be taking that as well. So a few things to keep in mind when you pivot. Also, there is another build that I like to go sometimes on Jarvan, and that is with Lethal Tempo. Now I'm going to be showing you the builds for these runes in a second, but these runes are for the tank specific build of Jarvan. So you're going to be taking Lethal Tempo, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, and then in the Resolve tree, you're going to be taking Conditioning and Overgrowth. Conditioning and Overgrowth give you that late game power scaling, and they scale off defenses really well, so it is fantastic to take those. Something to keep in mind is you can take Alacrity, the attack speed rune, just like I mentioned before, and also if there is heavy CC in the game, you can take the Unflinching rune in the Resolve tree as well. But all of these things down here as well, interchangeable, but health per level in most games, also my favorite. So that's the runes. If you guys have any more questions, let me know. Let's go on to the summoner spells and builds now. Okay, so for summoner spells, really quick, Flash and Smite. Some people take Ghost on Jarvan sometimes, and I can see it in that Lethal Tempo tank build, but as Jarvan, the e+q+flash is so powerful, I'm never taking Ghost on Jarvan. Just please take Flash. Let's talk about itemization now. So now let's take a stab at itemization. These are going to be our builds with Conqueror, and let's take a look at the smites to start things off. We've got the red smite, the green smite, and the blue smite. Now I don't have high quality images here because Riot Games hasn't uploaded high quality images yet, so we're stuck with the red egg, the green egg, and the blue egg. So first things first, what smite are we actually choosing when we're going this Conqueror build? The first thing is probably going to be Green Smite. I think Green Smite is the best. It gives you a shield, which Jarvan loves when he's engaging. It gives you tenacity, which you just love when you're fighting. So it's overall fantastic for Jarvan's playstyle. If the enemy doesn't have much CC, then my second option is going to be the blue egg, the blue Smite. Because the bonus movement speed just allows you to run around the map really fast. It gives you gank pressure. It gives you engage pressure. It's just fantastic overall for how Jarvan wants to play a game. The third Smite is the red Smite. This is going going to give you damage in fights, and to be honest, Jarvan doesn't really need this. Jarvan is all about getting knockups, hitting his EQs, and engaging for his team and playing fights that way. So red smite, it's not the best, but in games where you need that extra damage, red smite is going to be also an option for you. Now let's carry on to the components. The components we're building are long swords, ruby crystals, pickaxes. Ruby crystal, longsword, and pickaxe all build into Gore Drinker, and then pickaxe builds into Ravenous Hydra, and then these two build into Black Cleaver. So all of these components allow you to build into two of these three items. The boots for our options in the early game are going to be Merc Treads, Steel Caps, and Ionian boots. Now this varies from game to game, so you need to learn how to build these and get flexible with them. But Steel Caps, obviously, if the enemy has a bunch of AD. Mercury Treads, we don't care about the MR. The main reason we buy Mercury Treads is for tenacity. So if the enemy has a bunch of CC, 3 champions or more with hard CC, then I'm always building Merc Treads. And then if the enemy is very mixed and they don't really have a complete denial of CC and they don't have completely AD, then I'm going to be building Ionian boots. Ionian boots are the standard bread and butter on Jarvan. You're going to be building it about, I'd say about like 60% of your games most of the time, because the cooldown that it gives your EQ on these boots is just fantastic. It also gives you flash cooldown, so you're going to have your flash up faster, you're going to have your EQ up faster. It's just how Jarvan wants to play. Let's talk about the primary builds, the most important part. First off, in most of my games, I am going to be building Gore Drinker first item. Gore Drinker first item is just great. You engage, you pop your Gore Drinker, you get a bunch of healing. That's fantastic. The second thing that I traditionally like to build is Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver second, because it gives me a bunch of cooldown on that item. It gives me 20 ability haste. So if you combo that with Gore Drinker, it also gives you ability haste, Black Cleaver, and Ionian boots. You're going to be EQing very frequently in team fights. If I am going this cooldown build, then I like to follow it up with something like maybe a Frozen Heart, because that gives me ability haste, maybe a Death Stance. All of these items that give me ability haste, I'm just playing to spam out my EQs. It does vary, but the main core of this specific build is these 3 items right here. Then the other build that I want to talk to you guys about is the Ravenous Hydra build. This is the carry build that I'm building every single game at the moment, because Ravenous Hydra is overpowered. If you guys are watching this later, Ravenous Hydra may not be as powerful, but this is still a great build. So what I'll be building is I'm building Ravenous Hydra first, then I'm building Gore Drinker, then I'm building Death Stance. Now this just gives me a ton of healing in the game. If I am not building Death Stance third because maybe they have too much magic damage, then I will go more. I think these 3 items together are fantastic. The amount of healing you get on one auto is just so ridiculous that you can carry games really, really hard with this build. So those are the 2 builds that I like at the moment. Those are the 2 core builds I like at the moment. The boots does vary very hard, so be very volatile on what you're picking, be very specific and understand the enemy team compositions. And if you guys don't know what you should be picking in a specific scenario, put it in the comments below. Say, hey, I'm versus the Teemo, Jax, blah blah blah. I'll answer and I'll tell you what I think the best build is, what I think the best boots are, and I can answer from there. I also have GA here in the core section as well, because I think it's just a fantastic 5th or 6th item in most scenarios. If you're throwing yourself in as Jarvan trying to do a bunch of damage, and you're just gonna die. So if you're doing that with Jarvan, GA is fantastic. You can respawn and then you can EQ people more. Now to the situational items, we've got Heal Cut if they have too much healing. We have Redemption and Knight's Vow if you have hyper carries on your team and you want to play defensively for them. Frozen Heart is great because it gives you a bunch of cooldown and also armor up against AD carry type champions. Randuin's is good for high crit champs like Yone, Yasuo, and then Force of Nature if they have a ton of magic damage and maybe it's not right for you to build more in that game, then Force of Nature is going to be fantastic. It's going to give you more tank stats. So that's the Conqueror itemization. It is a lot. Jarvan is very flexible, guys, so feel free to ask me questions in the comments, and let's head over next to the lethal tempo section. All right, so let's roll into everything itemization for when your runes are lethal tempo. When you're taking lethal tempo as your runes is when you want to build more of a tank. So we're thinking things like Jaxo, Iceborne Gauntlet, and Radiant Virtue. I'm going to skip over the early game section because we already covered it in the Conqueror section. The only difference is you're not going to have damage items early, and you're just going to be building things like Ruby Crystals, Cloth Armors, Null Magic Mantles, things like that. Very, very simple. You build them for for the appropriate champions you're versing. If they have armor or magic damage or mixed, you build health. That's the thought process. Let's actually tackle the core, which is the most interesting part. So the first item is Jak'Sho. Jak'Sho is just going to be a staple fantastic item for engaged tanks for the most of season 3. You throw yourself in there, gain a bunch of resistances, and you're going to be extremely tanky. I think this is okay, but I think the other 2 core items we have here are going to be slightly better than Jak'Sho. So the first one I want to talk about is the Iceborne Gauntlet build. The Iceborne Gauntlet build, you throw yourself in there, you have slows on your auto attacks, and you're just going to have a bunch of tank stats. There's nothing really crazy to think about it. It's just an overall good item for Jarvan, gives you ability haste as well, so it's going to be fantastic. After building the Iceborne Gauntlet, the next item that you can build, there's a few of them. Obviously, we have Force of Nature, we have Heal Cut, we have Black Cleaver for more damage, but also cooldown reduction, and then all of these situational items. At the moment, this is probably the strongest build, and then you just have to build accordingly to what your opponent's damage spread is like, or what your teammates need. If you need more EQs, more cooldown. If you need magic resistance, you build magic resistance, and then you spec into your situational items as according. As always, you guys can ask me questions if you don't know what to build or when to build. Just ask me in the comments below and I'll be able to answer that really easily. So the primary thing that I want to talk about today though is the Radiant Virtue build. This is something that I really want you guys to be exploring in season 13 with Jarvan. Radiant Virtue is a new item, and when you ult someone, but the main thing that I want to talk to you guys about this lethal tempo section is the Radiant Virtue build. I think this is a sleeper OP item in season 13. What it does is when you ult someone, you gain a bunch of stats. You gain maximum HP, you start healing, and also you give all the champions around you ability haste. So this is the ultimate enabling tank item. It's going to be super good for these team fights, 5v5s, 3v3s, 4v4s, whatever it is. It is so damn good when you're enabling your teammates. So when I'm building Radiant Virtue, I like to go Radiant Virtue, then Black Cleaver second. That's it. That's the build. That's your core. You can build whatever boots you want, and then obviously build whatever you need to combat your opponents. If you need heal cut, you go heal cut. If you need MR, you go MR. If you want more defensive supportive items for your teammates, you build situational items like these. But the main build here is the Black Cleaver Radiant Virtue. I want you guys to be exploring that when you're playing this supportive style of Jarvan. And that's really it for the lethal tempo itemization. It is very broad when it comes to Jarvan. The biggest and hardest part I see most Jarvan players fail, honestly, is itemization. There's a few ways that we fail as Jarvan players, but itemization is a big one. So if you guys ever do not know what to build, feel free to ask me in the comments below, and I will give you direction and give you some guidance on those games. Now let's continue with the rest of the video. So when we're talking about our items, now we need to get into how to utilize these item spikes. So when we are playing Jarvan, when we get our Gore Drinker, what changes, what augments our game? We can be engaging a lot as soon as we get the Gore Drinker. We are able to go for aggressive engages. I'm talking about you press tab and you see the enemy team has not gotten their mythic yet. This means you can force dragons because you can go in, they're going to get you low, use all of their cooldowns on you, and as you're going to die, press that Gore Drinker. They're not going to have enough damage and your team's going to be able to follow up with them. As I said, forcing objectives, forcing towers, forcing tower dives. This is what you want to be doing when you have that Gore Drinker. Baiting on low HP. Again, all of these things revolve around the same thing, the same concept, using a Gore Drinker to the best of its abilities early game. From that 8-minute mark, if you're scaling, snowballing at that 12-minute mark, forcing these objectives, using it to its full extent. I'm going to talk about GA last because I think it is the most important to understand. So let's talk about the Maw and Death Stance spike. This is when you are snowballing as Jarvan. This is when you're ahead. You've gone, okay, I've gone Gore Drinker this game and I've gotten 5 kills in the early game. Now I need to start carrying. So you're going to build Maw or Death Stance second item. This is when you need to just start looking for solo kills. You're going to walk down mid. The enemy AD carry is going to walk too far up. You're going to EQ that guy and play for the one shot. You're going to play for the outplay and you're going to play to 2v1 or kill people in the side lanes. This is what your mindset needs to be. How do I carry? Think and look at the list of the 5 champions on the enemy team. Who is most susceptible to dying to me? If it's someone in the side lane, think, where are they going to go? Which are they going to go top? Are they going to go mid at 15 minutes? Predict where they are, show up there, kill them, and keep snowballing the game. Second thing you need to be doing with these items is forcing down towers. Jarvan needs to close out games. He doesn't scale insanely well. He does scale. He can play late game team fights, but he's not the best. He's not as good as an AD carry. He's not as good as a mid laner. He's not that good as most scaling junglers. So you need to be forcing down these towers. You need to be forcing down objectives, forcing fights, making things happen. The final thing is play towards the enemy AP or AD. What does that mean? If you build Death Stance, play fights around where the enemy AD carry is, because they're not going to be killing you. If you have more, you have this magic resist, play around where the enemy AP carry is going to be. Their mid laner, their Xerath, their Vladimir, whoever it is, force fights around them, because they're going to retaliate, except they're not going to be able to kill you because you've itemized specifically to fight them. So these are all of the concepts that I want you guys to be taking into account when you have this item spike. And then the final one is GA, Guardian Angel in the middle. This is going to be very different because you're not building GA every single game, but this is like the ace up my sleeve that I keep for some specific games. Some games I need to do something crazy and I need to force a fight with my GA and throw myself in there when I have 80 carries that are strong snowballing, but they need someone to get the fight started. So what do you do when you have GA? You got to force Baron fights. You've got to set up around dragons and barons. Type to your support, say, setting up Baron, set up dragon. You're going to go ward, you're going to set up, and then as soon as those enemies start walking into your vision, you're going to EQ, you're going to R, set up a fight, you're going to have your team follow up on that. You're going to die, you're going to use your GA, and they're going to win the team fight. It doesn't matter if you die. Maybe you come out of the GA and die. You are playing for the team, you're playing for the setup, you're playing for the engage. This is how to win these games of GA. You are not the solo carry in this game. You are figuring out how to enable and make your teammates the carries. Second thing you can do, obviously, is tower dives. Sometimes what I like to do, if I have 3 pushing lanes, I have my teams push their lanes, and as the side laners are catching top wave, the enemy other side laner is catching bot wave, I will get my team and I will just dive mid. I will not care. I will die to the tower, but we will be able to R them under the tower, get them stuck there and kill them, and then break the mid tower and then take a major objective. The final thing that you want to be doing is, if you can't take towers, you can't take barons, you have to force the enemy camps. When you are invading enemy camps as a Jarvan with GA, you now have to make your enemy think, because there are 2 ways that now Jarvan can play. Jarvan can play defensively, and if you engage on him, then you're engaging on a Jarvan with GA. So you're going deep. The enemy is going deep on you. And then even if you go into GA, then you're so deep that you're probably going to die because my teammates are going to follow up on the enemy. Or on the vice versa, if the enemy walks up, you have GA, so you're going to be a lot less scared of dying. You're going to be a lot less scared of losing that camp, because you're just going to go forward, you're going to fight them, engage on them, and then your team is going to be able to follow up. The enemy team is going to have to play around your GA. They're going to have to kite back. They're going to have to wait for you to respawn, thinking about all of these problems. So GA is a really power shifting item in some games. So keep that in mind. It's a really powerful item, and all of these things that I want you guys to take into account if you're building GA. Other than that, let's continue with the rest of the video. These were the key item spikes I want you to think about and how to use them. Okay, everyone, so for this section of the guide, we're going to be talking about Jarvan's wall hops. Now, Jarvan has an insanely long jump, or I guess ability to jump walls. So there's no real walls out there where it's very surprising Jarvan can jump over it. For example, Jarvan can very obviously jump over this wall. He can very obviously jump over this wall. He can very obviously jump over this wall. It doesn't really matter about very specific jumps. There's nothing that I need to teach you guys in regards to that. The real learnings when it comes to wall jumps are ganks and very specific walls that we want to be looking over for, looking to jump over for our ganks. Something to keep in mind is you can't jump this wall, I guess. That's like one wall. You can E over it, but again, you're not going to be able to Q over it, but you can hit like thinner parts of the wall and jump this way. So that's the major thing to take away from the basic wall jumps. So let's now actually talk about wall jumps you should be looking for when you're ganking. Let's imagine we are ganking on the top side and there are going to be two enemies up here. You know, you got your team, the enemy team, and the enemy laner has just walked down and warded right there. Obviously, we can walk straight up here and go for a gank. Something to keep in mind is the jumping over a wall like this and going for a gank this way. This is a very, very good thing that Jarvan can do and a very efficient thing that Jarvan can do, which is just jumping over walls to avoid vision. You can even go from this wall to here to avoid the ward that is there. So you don't even need to jump over here. You can just jump over the Baron Pit wall. Let's take a look at it from the other side. If we are looking to maybe go for a gank on this bottom side. So let's say that the enemy, you are on red side. So say you've come from top side and you're going to be ganking bottom. The enemy team has warded here. Okay, well, what are we going to do? The enemy team has warded there. So if we're going to come from this side of the jungle and we are ganking this bottom team, well, we can just do the exact same thing on the opposite side here. And we can jump over just like that. We can do that very easily. Now, let's say we're on the blue team. We're coming from this side of the jungle and the red team has warded here. And you can't just walk through like this because they're going to see you and they're going to walk back. Well, we can do something that's even more creative. We can go from here and straight over the dragon pit. We can walk around and dodge this ward that's right here. And we can EQ over this wall, walk straight at them. And now, keep in mind, you're not going to have your EQ, but you're still going to have auto attacks. You're going to still have your W to slow them, and you're going to be able to gank from that really, really obscure angle. Now, I don't recommend doing that type of gank every single game, but it is something good to have in your wheelhouse, something in your repertoire, because having these unique gank paths, these unique opportunities, is what makes the difference over hundreds and hundreds of games. In League of Legends, everyone who climbs, their win percentage is like 55%. If you see someone with a 55% win rate, that's actually pretty damn high. And that just comes from winning an extra game here, an extra game there over many, many, many weeks of playing. So if you're able to build up these little extra skills to get out those wins, then taking into account ganks like that is really, really, it's just really good to do. There's not really anything super crazy for mid lane ganks. Like you can, jump over this wall and walk at the enemy team. You can jump over this wall, but there's nothing crazy like this jump or dodging wards like this. Like if you know where the enemy wards in mid lane, say they ward here, then you can loop around this way and gank from here and just, walk up to them and gank like this. But any typical jungler, even without a jump, can do that. So nothing special on the mid lane, but keep in mind dodging these specific wards in river, on top, and bot is really, really good with Jarvan. So that's wall hops, nothing crazy there. If you have any more questions about it, let me know, and let's continue on with the rest. All right, so now we're going to be watching the full clear. I did this about 5 minutes ago, just recorded it, and I'm going to take you through it. So open up with an auto attack and an E, and you're going to be kiting back the red all the way down to these Krugs. As you're kiting down, you are going to use your smite on this red because you're doing it leashless. Throw your E as soon as it comes off cooldown on the Krugs to aggro them. It pulls them out further and you can start hitting them. Then use your Q as soon as you hit level 2 and just focus down the big Krug. As we get these Krugs low, bring them to the edge of the leash range, hit the medium-sized one to break them into the little fellas, and try line up your Q to hit all of them, because now you need all of the little Krugs of XP to hit level 3 on the Raptor camp. open up with an auto attack and an E onto the first little raptor there. Try and hit as many of these guys with your Q as possible. If you do miss them, just auto attack the ones that you did miss. Now drag and clump these guys up for an E at maximum range, and then walk over to the wolves. W before you get to the wolves for optimal shield usage, because it does last 5 seconds. Then hit them with the Q to drag them out, and then just follow up with auto attacks onto the big one. You are going to need to auto attack the little guys once as well. So just drag them out, bring them out as far as you can. I got really lucky with that little one, so don't be as risky as I am. Then we just throw the E out onto the blue, throw the Q down, and we're just going to kite the blue towards the Gromp, get it on maximum range, and then we're going to use our second smite here as we bring it over to the Gromp. Throw down the E, and it's going to be pretty simple here taking down the Gromp. There's not too much special for me to talk about. You're just going to be weaving auto attacks in. You're going to be throwing your EQs down as much as possible. But the main things to really take away from this is hitting all those Krugs with the long Q at maximum range. That's the biggest one. And then bringing camps to maximum tether range as frequently as possible, because people are scared to do that in season 13 because camps reset really weird and differently from last seasons. But you'll get used to it, you'll get better with it. That's the full clear. Let's continue on. All right, so here we are at the most important part of the video. This is where we're going to be talking about early paths. This is going to be Jarvan's bread and butter. He's usually going to be able to make an impact in the early game, so let's talk about it. The first thing is the level 2 gank. The level 3 gank is second, and then our third option is the full clear. I'm going to be breaking all of these down individually, but let's start with the bottom, with the full clear, which is the easiest one. I don't even need to go through anything special with this one. You clear your entire jungle, and then you can gank, take scuttle, or base. It's very, very simple. Now let's go in depth and talk about the more nuanced ones, which is the level 2 gank and level 3 gank. And to explain these, I've actually got a video for each. So let's start things off with the level 2 gank. So for our first game here, we have got myself playing Jarvan, obviously up against a Rengar, but the thing that we really want to be taking a look at for this level 2 gank is the mid lane. And now why are we looking at mid lane? It is because Talon versus Sylas. Talon is very, very easily gankable pre level 3. As soon as Talon gets level 3, he is going to have his E, which allows him to jump over walls and escape ganks really easily. But before then, he is a sitting dunk. So level 1 and level 2, I want to get a gank off. And Sylas also, cherry on the top, he has really nice engage in the early game. He usually will level his E level 1, which means he can E forward and then chains Talon to set up the gank. So let's actually skip forward and see how I execute on this in the actual moment. So I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to get a leash from my top laner. All well and good. Skipping forward. I keep checking mid while I'm doing red. Talon is taking trades. And now let's slow down for the gank. So Talon, he's going to walk up to this minion, and I'm going to go and look to punish it. Throwing out my EQ here. Talon flashes. Perfect. No flash. Now what do? There's two things we can do. I can re-gank instantly, but I have a feeling that Talon's going to play a little bit safe here for now. And he's playing back. If you take a look at the minimap, look at his positioning, he is playing back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and do a camp. I'm going to skip ahead here. I'm going to ward, find out where Rengar is. Rengar's probably topside. I'm going to do blue. And now Talon has started pushing into Sylas. I'm going to re-gank. So I'm still level 2 here. And I'm going to approach mid because I know he has no flash. He does have E now, but with his positioning, where's he going to go? He's only going to be able to jump one way, which is right into Sylas. So he has no escape here. Going to chase him down, beat him down, and there we go. So that's the logic behind the level 2 gank. I don't want you guys to look at the mechanics, and I don't want you to really look at the specifics of this gank. The reason we do the level 2 gank is to punish people who are either annoying or are very easily gankable, and we want to put them behind. Because if we think about it, the only way Talon is a good champion is by snowballing. So if we can put him behind whenever he is weak, that is why we do these level 2 ganks. In season 13, power farming is actually really, really essential in most situations. So use your level 2 gank with care and only do it in situations where it's really going to pay off for you. So we've spoken about that. Now let's head on to the level 3 gank and break that down. So for this game, we're going to break down the level 3 gank, and it's a bit of a longer thought process than the level 2 gank, so let's break it down in real time. First things first, I have a Zed top lane. So Zed, I'm not going to want to gank for this guy early. He has no setup. He's not going to do much for me, so I'm going to ignore him. Second thing I have is Ezreal and Shaco. Not too much setup here, very safe lane. Both of them can play back very effectively. So again, I'm probably not going to be putting too much pressure onto this guy. But the final thing I have here is Sylas mid lane. And you're going to see on this VOD here, I keep checking mid lane. I keep looking at what this guy's doing because I am seeing if I can actually do a level 2 gank. We'll actually notice Twitch ganked him. So the level 2 gank is definitely not possible. Also, Vex was spacing Sylas early, so he wasn't able to take a good trade. So the level 2 gank is nullified, but still the level 3 gank is possible. We do this because we have set up on the mid wave, and Sylas is going to be able to snowball the lane if he gets ahead. So that's my thought process. So here we see Vex is pushing in, but she is still full HP. It is quite hard for us to gank, but the main reason we don't gank is because Sylas was level 1. We're not going to go gank Sylas when Vex is, level 2 smashing his head in. He doesn't even have enough abilities to do damage if we ganked. So now he's hit level 2. He is very chunked, but the lane is still quite gankable here. So I'm going to ping for Vex. I don't think Vex can one-shot my mid laner here, so I go for this call. If Vex could one-shot him, I wouldn't make this call. But here we go. We see me pinging this guy. I've hit level 3, and I'm just waiting for him to engage himself. He engages a little bit prematurely. He did have flash, and he could have flashed that Vex's Q to survive, but it is what it is. Vex ends up falling. She loses her exhaust, and we get the kill. So again, I want you guys to take away not the mechanics, not the matchups, not anything like that. I want you guys to take away why we do the level 3 gank. And really, it's because, one, in season 13 we like farming, so the fact that I was able to take all of my top side then gank means now I can go back to this side. Level 2 ganking is a little bit more volatile because you can potentially sacrifice parts of your jungle, because if you go from red here to ganking mid and then you go to bot side, then the enemy jungler can full clear, and then they can invade your raptors and your krugs, and they can deny you. So in season 13, I actually prefer most of the time to do level 3 ganks, and this is just the reasoning and thought process behind how we take advantage of the champions we have, ignoring the bad champions that we have, and when we should go for those ganks depending on health, push, and level of your laner. So that's a level 3 gank. And now let's talk about invade pathing. So for invade paths, it's going to look very similar to what we looked at in the previous slide when we were talking about ganking, but invading is a little bit different. So let's first break it down what they are. We've got the level 2 invade, the level 3 invade down here, and then the 3 camp map split. So there are a few different types of invades, and let's break them down individually. First of all, the level 2 invade is basically dead. For season 13, because champions clear so quickly, level 2 invading in 90% of your games, 99% of your games, is terrible. The only reason you should ever level 2 invade is if the enemy has made a mistake. Otherwise, champions clear way too fast now, so you actually can't do this. This is something that I liked to do last season on Jarvan. Now I think it's dead. I think Jarvans should probably only level 3 invade. And yeah, that's it, because the timings are so bad for level 2 invades. So now let's go on to the actual invades that work. The first one is the level 3 invade. Let's talk about this one down here at the bottom. The level 3 invade is fantastic because there are 2 ways you can execute it, and I'm going to show you one way in a video right now. So in this VOD, here you're going to see me start off by walking into the enemy jungle and getting a ward. The reason I get this ward is because I am looking to invade the enemy, as we previously mentioned. Now, you may have seen a grave show down there, but I'm actually up against a Bel'Veth. So Bel'Veth is my opponent. She is going to be very weak in the early game. Bel'Veth actually, before her first base, her clear is not that good. It's quite slow, and she gets quite unhealthy. She is an amazing duelist, but not during her first clear. So I'm using my knowledge of the enemy champion and how they clear to utilize this level 3 invade. So the first thing you need to do when level 3 invading is understand your opponent, and obviously understand your champion, of its strengths and when it can invade. So here, I'm going to start on my top side. Here, I'm going to do red. I'm then going to skip ahead and do Krugs. And now I am going to do Raptors. Now, we saw Bel'Veth at the start get a leash on bot side. I know that Bel'Veth is down here. And what does Bel'Veth like to do in her clear? She full clears. It's season 13. 99% of the champions you're going to be versing right now are full clearing. So she is going to be doing red, Krugs, Raptors, and then she is going to go to her wolves. So at the same time, I am finishing this third camp. Bel'Veth is going to be finishing her third camp. So when she's finishing these Raptors, I'm finishing my Raptors. So we're going to take a look and we're going to try and invade her on the wolves. And this is only because Bel'Veth, I know, is quite weak when she is killing camps. Because if we actually take a look at this from a neutral position, if it was even, this is actually a bad position for me to gank. Look at Ziggs. Look at Graves. Both my enemy laners can rotate very easily. So right here, I'm going to pop a sweeper just in case anyone late warded. And now I'm going to sit here and look for Bel'Veth with the sweeper because I know she'll be on wolves. We see Bel'Veth and then I actually spot her. She starts running away. She prematurely uses her E and I actually cancel her E. I thought her E would have been on cooldown because usually they use it in their clear. But luckily I cancel her E. Then I'm going to EQ onto her very simply, flash over the wall, and look at this max range Q. Beautiful. Pick up Bel'Veth with ease. So that is the level 3 invade, guys. Enemies can't rotate that quickly. This Graves, yes, he had prio. Ziggs, well, he actually died, but Ziggs did have prio. They can rotate, but that's only if the fight is going to be long. Bel'Veth, I know she gets to about half HP in her first clear, and she clears slowly. So that's why I went for the invade there. And also I took away the wolf as well, so she didn't hit level 3. So that's the logic, and that's why I do level 3 invades. Do one side of your jungle and then go into the opposite side. It's quite hard to do cross map. So if I started blue here and ran to her blue, it's quite hard to do that just because of, again, how fast the jungle is cleared in season 13. But that is how I execute most of my level 3 invades as Jarvan. So we've spoken about level 2 invades, which don't exist. Now we've spoken about level 3 invades. The final one that I skipped over is going to be the 3 camp map split, and this one is going to be a little bit more complicated. It's like a level 3 invade, but it is for a different purpose. So the reason you do a map split is when you have a really strong lane. When you level 3 invade, it's about the jungle matchup. When you map split, it's about your laners. So imagine you have a really strong bot lane. You have a Nautilus and a Samira, and they're up against a Twitch and a Yuumi. And maybe Twitch Yuumi play very, very safe, so you can't gank. But with Nautilus and Samira, it's very easy to dive the Twitch and Yuumi. So what you're going to do is if you're on blue side, you're going to start blue side. You're going to do 3 camps on that side. You're going to do red. You're going to do Krugs. You're going to do Raptors. And then you are going to go cross map into the enemy jungle and invade the jungle that way. The enemy jungle is going to then get pushed out, and you are going to be effectively able to split the map. Now, this only works if the enemy jungler starts on the opposite side of the map, so their red buff and paths down to the bot side, and this is how it specifically works. It doesn't work every game, it only works sometimes, but this path allows you to isolate a lane. So you do a map split, 1, when you have a really strong side that can support you on your invade, and 2, you do it when you don't have a really weak lane on the other side. Let's imagine you have a top lane Kayle in that instance. You don't want to leave Kayle alone because Kayle can very easily get dove in the early game, and if she falls behind, she's quite useless. So when you have a strong lane and a very good independent lane on the other side of the map, that is when you can do a map split. Again, it's a little bit more complicated, but it's very, very effective when you can pull it off. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind and know about it. So that's the paths. If you guys have any questions about that, feel free to ask me in the comments below, and let's continue on to the next part. All right, so I've showed you a bunch of paths for Jarvan, but when you're going for these ganks, I want you guys to keep in a few tips and tricks in your mind when you're actually trying to execute. So the first thing is I want you to hold your EQ, and then you can use your W to slow for easier setup. This is a really big one. Using that W allows you to either force flashes on the enemy early and then you can EQ after them, or using W then allows you to hit that EQ with much more certainty. The second thing I want you to keep in mind is lane ganking. This is something that's really heavily underutilized as Jarvan. I see from a lot of Jarvan players I coach. It's very, very easy. If you see an enemy pushing a lane, come walk into that bush next to them, hide, wait for them to walk up, and gank from the lane. It's a really, really nice path that Jarvan can do. It's really effective, and most champions don't see it coming. So that's something that you guys should keep in your wheelhouse for ganking. The third thing is flash to force your enemies to flash, then follow them with an EQ. So, I mean, flash on the enemy and auto attack them. Hit them. Keep smacking them. W, they're slow. You keep auto attacking them. Have your Conqueror, have your lethal tempo. Building up that damage, and then they are forced to flash. As soon as they're forced to flash, you can EQ and follow them, and they're dead. So using flash aggressively for damage can be really good in some situations, so definitely keep that in mind. Fourth thing, when you are diving, walk at the enemy, then auto them, and then you can use your EQ to escape. So when you're going for turret dives, Jarvan is a very, very good tanker because he can walk up, deal damage with the auto attacks, and then EQ out. Don't use your EQ to engage under a tower. You are 99% of the time going to die, especially in the early game. If you don't need that extra damage from the EQ, just use your autos and EQ out. It's really, really easy, and I see a lot of Jarvans also make this mistake because people get worked up when diving. So stay calm, understand how much damage you've got between you and the rest of your teammates, and save that EQ if you can. Fifth thing is timing flashes and focusing on one lane. So first things first, let's talk about timing flashes. Jarvan is countered by flash. That's the biggest thing that holds back this champion. It's why he is not one of the best junglers at the moment. He's still an A tier jungler, but he's not the ultra S tier jungler because he is countered by the flash ability. So timing flashes is really, really important. And then following that up is focusing on one lane. If you're up against a scaling champion or any kind of champion really that just doesn't have an insane escape, like if you're up against an Ezreal, well, that guy's got his E. He's going to be able to escape easily. But if you're up against a Victor in the mid lane, a Xerath, a Veigar, these guys that have no escapes, time that guy's flash and repeat yank him. Jarvan is really good at making one champion's life absolute hell, so really focus on that. Focus on one lane, focus on their flash timings. And just a side note, if you guys don't have this enabled in your settings, go to your settings, turn on your in-game timestamps. It's really, really good. I'll probably have it on screen right now how to do it, but having timestamps is super, super good because as soon as you ping a flash, it'll say in the chat the time that you pinged the flash, so you know when the enemy flashed. You can type out the timer very easily. So in-game timestamps, super, super nice. Final thing is, sounds obvious, but play to your win condition. Ask yourself who deserves your resources. As you can see here, we've got Vayne, we've got Draven, we've got Kayle as these champions down the bottom. These are champions that as soon as I see they're on my team and I'm a Jarvan, I'm going to be playing for these guys. I want to get Vayne this kill. I want to get Draven this kill because he snowballs so hard. I want to get Kayle this kill because she scales so hard. All these champions that will use my kills to win me the game is super important. As other junglers, you can just take a bunch of kills and 1v9 the game. Maybe you're a Kayn, you're an Evelynn, whatever. As Jarvan, you usually need another champion alongside you to win that game and close it out. So play to your win condition. Who deserves your resources? Ask yourself those questions. All right, everyone, this is going to be my final slide before we get into the final replays and reviews of the games coming up. And this is how to close out games as Jarvan. And the reason this is my final slide is because this is the thing that I am still working on. This is the thing that I personally struggle with, and I've been putting a lot of my mental focus into recently. So if you take a look down here, this is a screenshot from my OPGG this season. This is my third most played champion, but I have a negative win rate on him this season. I've got a 51 wins, 56 losses. And you won't believe this, but it was worse before because I just can't close out games as Jarvan. I don't know what I'm doing wrong sometimes, but I've been thinking about it, I've been figuring it out, and there's a few reasons and a few things to think about so you can start effectively closing out your own games if you're having the same problem that I do. So, first things first, Do you ever find yourself asking yourself questions? Because this is what I ask myself. I can usually secure a few kills in the early game, but why do games feel so hard to win? For me, games were feeling like an uphill battle when I was Jarvan. I feel like I could be 15-2 and the game would still be hard for me to win. I could be so fed and it is really hard. So Jarvan's really good at pressuring early and taking dragons, heralds, whatever. The issue is being effective in team fights. Jarvan is so hard to team fight with. If you make one mistake with this champion, he is terrible. So understanding your win condition is the way to win as Jarvan. This takes many games to be able to do consistently and understand, but you must identify who is your carry and how to enable them. And then in some cases, you are also going to be that carry. So we've spoken about this in our itemization, how to itemize when you are the carry, but in a lot of games that I'm playing as Jarvan, it's just not feasible for me to carry as this champion. He doesn't 1v9, but he can carry and 1v9 in his own way. He can play frontline, he can play CC, he can play engage. He has all these skills to play for someone on your team. So with that being said, you need to be really strict with understanding who is your carry and how to also funnel them resources in the mid to late game. If my mid laner is the carry, I will make sure that that guy is getting every single wave uncontested. I will make sure that he is taking my camps. Same for if it's my AD carry. I will type in game, in chat, and I will tell my AD carry, take my camps, take my farm, and carry the game. Because all I'm going to do is as soon as I hit my 3 item spike, I'm kind of good. I build my Gore Drinker, I build my Black Cleaver, maybe a Frozen Heart or an MR item, whatever it is. I hit that 3 item spike, and I'm done. I don't scale past 3 items as Jarvan. 4th item doesn't really feel different. 5th item, 6th item, you don't feel like a different champion in most of your games. Unless you're building like carry build, then it's a little bit different. But 99% of your Jarvan games, when you're building standard, you're building this CDR engaged Jarvan, you need to understand how to enable other people in the game. So how do we close out games? It's through strict objective control, but also enabling one person on your team to carry the game for you, because you cannot carry it on your own as Jarvan. That's just how Jarvan is. That's the reality of the champion. Yes, there are going to be games you 1v9, but most of them you cannot. And that's the reality. So we got to be strict with ourselves and understand how to close those games out. So now we've spoken about that, let's actually show you in some reviews of mine and some live gameplays of mine how I close games out as Jarvan in reality. So let's get to it. All right, so I've got a VOD review to go through now. I played this game yesterday. I don't remember exactly what happens, so I'm going to be taking you through my thought process in a third eye view, and I'm going to be reviewing my own gameplay at the same time so you guys can see the good things I did in this game and also the bad things, because I actually remember I start this game off quite poorly, so I'm going to show you the good, the bad, the ugly all throughout this entire VOD. So first things first, we have started off with the green smite. The reason we're taking green smite here is because the enemy team has Caitlyn, Lux, which have a bunch of CC. They have slows on GP, Fizz, and Graves. All 3 have slows as well, so we're going to get a ton of value from the tenacity and slow resistance from the green smite. Also, it makes sure that we can buy steel caps with ease. Fizz, even though he is magic damage, does do basic attack damage. Graves obviously does a bunch of AD and auto damage. GP and Caitlyn all are going to do a bunch of damage, meaning we all are going to do a bunch of auto attack damage, meaning that we are going to get a lot of value from building steel caps this game. So we don't want mercury treads, so tenacity from green smite, and then damage resistance from our steel caps. That's what our early game itemization is going to look like. Then also you might be wondering, oh, why do you have 50 gold? Why do you not buy a health potion? In this game, my team does not have much setup for me. The only setup CC in the early game I really have is Xerath that's consistent. Everyone else doesn't really have much gank options for me. So in this game, I am just going to full clear early, so buying a health potion isn't really that necessary. I'd rather just save it for purchases in the future. So this game, I'm going to opt for a full clear this game. I actually wanted to split the map originally by starting blue and invading the enemy red side. Now, let's think why I would do this. because Ezreal and Xerath can get a lot of push, but the main reason is the enemy bot lane is Lux and Caitlyn, so they're really, really gankable. So if I was able to do blue, Gromp, Wolves, and Invade bot side, then it would be fantastic for me because I could split the map all the way and play towards the bot side and get ganks off for free. But Graves started on his bot side, which to me is very confusing because I predicted Graves to start here on the top side, because why would a Graves want to path towards Fiora and GP? It's not very easy ganks for him, especially GP. GP doesn't do anything for him. So that was my thought process. Unfortunately, Graves starting red does counter my plans, but it's still okay because I don't need to do anything here in the early game as the Jarvan. I can just let my Echo scale, I can let my Fiora scale, and we can focus on team fights later into the game. So we see that Echo has push. I ping Raptors because I think Graves is going to be on them. Probably by this timing, he's actually closer to Wolves because he should be mimicking my clear. That's the thought process so far. Now my bot lane is trading, so I should actually be panning down there and looking at what's going on. Ezreal just flashed away and they're quite low. I should potentially ping danger for Graves to be down here, but it's super unlikely. He would have had to go from here to here. Actually, if he does that, he's kind of inting. So yeah, very unlikely from him. My mid lane is dying here. I should be panning down. So these are just the mistakes that I'm making. At the time, I think I was commentating this game or maybe in a call with my friends. So there's my cope excuse for you guys, but really it's just bad camera control from myself. Tracking the enemy jungler though here, pinging Graves on top side, just making sure Fiora is aware that she can get ganked. We do see the vision plant come down here for Graves, so we do know Graves is on top side. He might walk up here and clear the vision, clear the, what's it called? Yeah, clear Fiora's vision. So I'm just standing there waiting for him to walk up. Now I'm looking for a potential dive here because GP is going to get pushed in, but Graves is here, which is a very weird timing. I'm very confused as to why Graves is walking in that area at that timing, because there's no wards, so he didn't know I was there. So caught off guard by that. Now we see Echoes rotating over here for the fight in River. Because Fizz is coming from base still, I am able to open up with an engage onto Graves here. Graves flashes, GP's in there, GP flashes away, so I'm going to flash after Graves here, and I'm going to finish off Graves. So I get the kill. Now I'm just going to chase down Fizz. I have 12 Conqueror stacks here. I'm holding my EQ for Fizz to flash or E away, and he ends up just dying. So I thought this game started poorly. It actually starts really, really well, so maybe I make mistakes later or something. But so far, so good for me. Now I'm going to take this scuttle, and I'm probably going to base. Or am I going to double scuttle? I'm going to base. Okay, I think basing here is good. I have 1,500 gold. I think basing here is the right decision for me because I can go back to base and get Tiamat. And even if I went to bot side there, I wouldn't have even made it to the lane anyway to impact them. So now I have my Tiamat build. You might be wondering, oh, why do you build that? Don't you usually build Gore Drinker? And yes, I usually do build Gore Drinker, but at the time of this recording, right now, Ravenous Hydra is extremely overpowered. I believe that they're going to nerf it, but I still think it's going to be really good on Jarvan as a carry build. So I've spoken about it in the build portion a bunch. I won't go too in depth in it now, but long story short, I think Ravenous Hydra and a bunch of healing items is really, really good. So that's why we buy it here in the early game. And now we see, now I'm thinking about taking Dragon. Enemy bot lane is still coming out of base. Xerath is on the roam here. And I know that Graves has pathed to topside because I did see Graves on this scuttle before. So I know Graves is going topside. Also, Fizz roamed top here after getting mid push. So I know this is a free dragon because Echo can rotate down and Fizz can't counter. So even if Lux, we see her on the bottom minimap on the bottom right hand corner, she still can't rotate anyways, because Fizz will just counter. I mean, Echo will just roam down and probably kill her, or I can turn on her, so there's nothing she can do about it. We see Graves show mid here. I was worried about him after seeing Dragon go down. I was worried about him invading this camp here, but he opts to look for the mid pressure instead. So that means I can do my wolves for free, and then I can continue full clearing to topside. But tragically, my top laner died somehow to a GP early game as Fiora. Don't know how that's going to happen, but hey, unlucky. So I walk up here to the tower thinking I'd get the minion wave, but I actually make a mistake. I realize I'm not going to even make it to the wave in time, so I just go to take my Krugs. And then I unfortunately do skip past my Raptors, making the clear a little bit inefficient, but it is what it is. We're going to go down now and continue our Raptors. So I'm just going to skip ahead here because it's a little bit stale. Nothing is happening in the early game, but the reason nothing is happening in the early game is because I have champions with no setup. There's nothing crazy for me to do right now, and I'm about to hit 6. So now I'll slow down again and talk about my thought process here. So here I'm checking my XP, and I see that I'm going to tick 6, but I need to obviously do a camp first. So there was an option here where I could just gank bottom lane, but I think getting 6 is better, because I would thought Graves could be bot side here, because you see his Raptors are actually spawning, so he should be bot side, but we saw him walking top side. So I'm going to hit 6 here, reset my blue like a fool, and then I'm going to rotate bot after that. Now we see Echo with priority from mid lane coming down. I'm coming down at the same time as him, and my team is just going to get the kills anyways. I don't even need to be there. So I just checked the mid wave crashing. I'm scared of Fizz rotating down here. Then I realized my Fiora's pushed, so I spam ping topside to let her know she's going to get ganked, but she's probably going to fall down to Graves ganking here anyways. And if she doesn't fall to Graves, no, she does, doesn't matter. She would have fallen to Fizz anyways. So I saw on the minimap that Raptors were spawning, so I know that these Raptors are up. So I'm going to be able to deny those from Graves, because he pathed topside for some reason. I don't really understand it. Also then ends up sacrificing his bottom lane. Here I'm going to walk into Fizz because I see Echo and Xerath are right there below me. They end up not rotating here, and I make a mistake. I thought I was able to fight these guys, and I thought Echo was going to jump over this wall here and just help me kill Fizz. He, I think, doesn't realize. I think he wasn't aware. So he doesn't come. I engage without realizing my teammate is coming, and I end up falling for it. So big mistake by me not recognizing my teammates, I guess, their awareness and understanding what they can do in the moment. We just saw Graves show with a red buff, so he may have invaded mine. No, he didn't. Fantastic. I should have clicked Graves there to actually check if it was my red buff or not. Turns out it's not anyways, so we're fine. Now I'm just going to continue to full clear here, because the name of Season 13 jungling, guys, even when you are an early pressure jungler like Jarvan, the name of the game is farming. If you're skipping your camps, you are going to fall drastically far behind. And you can see here in the game, I'm pinging Dragon, because the objective as well, besides farming, the objective games of Dragon is super important. Herald got nerfed for some reason. I don't know why Herald got so nerfed. I thought Herald was in a very healthy position in the game, but I guess Riot Games decided it's not. So for Season 13, Herald is also much weaker than it was in Season 12. So yeah, playing for Dragons is just super impactful, influential, and important. So I'm just going to push this mid lane, mid wave, while Fizz and Echo both roam bot. They're going to do their thing. They're going to die. Fiora's going to die again for the stacking up her 4 death combo. And instead of roaming bot here, I'm just going to sit and smack mid. Now, the reason I smack mid is the fact that platings give 175 gold. And waves give tons of XP. One wave gives more XP than a camp. So I'm going to take 2 platings here. I'm going to get a total of 350 gold. That's more gold than an entire wave, than an entire kill gives you. So yeah, sitting here and hitting these platings is fantastic. Fizz comes back to the mid lane and throws his ult out at max range. Misses. Really tragic for him. He probably could have killed me. I actually overstayed there. So I should have just killed the wave and backed off after getting my platings. But anyways, Dragon is spawning here. My teammates are causing commotion on topside. I assume Fizz is going to start rotating topside. So here I'm going to be able to start Dragon for free. I am keeping an eye on Lux on the minimap down in the bottom right hand corner. Just checking out what she's doing. I see Fizz shows topside, so I know this Dragon is mine for sure. It's very free. So I'm just going to beat this down. And now I've just got to start thinking about Well, first things first, I'm actually thinking about Lux stealing this dragon. I don't want to pull a Piosic or something. Pull off the dragon, very easy. Lux throws down all her abilities. Here, I should have pinged that Lux has no R. Now, it probably in this game will not make much of a difference if someone knows Lux has R or not. But if maybe my Ezreal is going to go for an all-in at some stage, knowing that Lux's R is up or down could be really impactful for him. So you never know, but you may as well with free information ping stuff like that, guys. It's something that I try to do, and I would really recommend you guys do it as well. So here, the enemy bot lane is pushing really far up while I was full clearing. So I'm just going to see if I can punish this. Graves is here, though, and he's going to deny any ganks that I can pull off. So I'm just going to base in his face while I'm on vision. I'm going to show them that I'm basing because I have 2,000 gold in the bank. My base here is going to be super insane, and I'm going to buy steel caps, as I mentioned at the start of the game, and I'm going to buy my Ravenous Hydra. Now, I had an option there between a Ruby Crystal and a Longsword. Just for you guys' information, if you don't know, Ruby Crystal is basically the most cost-effective component in the game. Gonna see my top laner trading here, so I'm just gonna rotate over while I was doing Krugs. Just a small thing for you guys, like, it is important. Make sure you're looking at your lanes while you're doing camps. Especially look at the lanes around you while you're doing camps. Pink ward right there that I'm walking past. Look at the lanes that you're near. So if you're doing Raptors, look at mid and top. If you're doing Krugs, look at mid and top. If you're doing Gromp, look at mid and bot. Look at the lanes that you're near, because if something's happening in the moment, you can quickly react and leave the camp and go impact them there. That's something that I tell all my coaching students to do. Like, a bunch of people are always like looking at all three lanes rapidly all the time. But at the end of the day, even if you see something happening topside, if you're bot side, you can't do anything about it. So it doesn't really matter. It is good to look every now and then, especially in extended fights, because the enemy might flash or something, but it is what it is. So now let's actually get back to talking about this game in depth. Graves on the bot side here is going to get pushed out by Xerath. I know that Xerath is going to be able to push him out because he's lower than half HP, and he's not going to push up. So I'd prefer just to go to the scuttle here and push this scuttle off. I know GP has roam here from topside, so I do need to be a little bit afraid. And I'm going to do something interesting here. I'm actually going to walk up past this guy. Most people would have walked down and away, but if you see, Fizz was mid lane, and Fizz is going to have easy, quick rotate to me. Also, Graves was on the bot side of the map. So if I rotated down, there's potential that I'm walking into Fizz and Graves. So be really aware of where the enemy is, guys, because that can save you in a lot of situations. Because if you're just knee-jerk react, like 90% of players' knee-jerk reaction there would just be to run away, because run down, because that's where you were positioned. Oh, look at that EQ. Look at that E over the wall on Graves. He would be so sad. Missed my Q on this Lux here, and then she jukes herself to death. So yeah, as I was saying, GP was coming at me from, he was above me and I was down here below him. Most people would walk down, but Fizz and Graves could have been behind me. So instead, I just decided to walk straight up past GP. I could have taken a little bit extra damage. He doesn't even hit me. And that's the logic behind that. So tracking where your opponents are is really, really important. So now I got a kill onto Graves. I got a kill onto... Who else was it? Graves and whoever else. I think Lux. That's right. Lux. So I checked the enemy bot lane, bot side jungle. There's no camps up, and fortunately it's Hex Tech jungle, so I'm going to be able to take the portals back to my jungle, and I'm just going to continuously full clear because my goal now is to base for a gore drinker. So right now you're probably going to see me check the shop soonish, or maybe I already checked it. I think I already checked it, but I think gore drinker, I can buy it with 2,700 gold. I think. No, 2,900 gold. Wow, it's expensive. So the total cost of a gore drinker is 3,300. I didn't even realize that. I thought it'd be 3,100. Expensive item. Anyways, coming out of base here, gore drinker 3,300 purchased. Now I am so insanely strong into the enemy team. I have steel caps versus a bunch of champions that do auto attack damage, and I have Rav Hydra gore drinker. I can just heal like a monster. So dragon is spawning. We have 3 dragons up right now. So I'm pinging it. If you can see on the on the chat down below, I've pinged it 1,000 times. And my echo is hard trading when the enemy has priority of mid. So all of the enemy team is committed bot side. So I'm going to look for GP here. GP is going to plant out, which that's a bonus because it denies plant from the enemy team. But now it's up to me, Xerath, and Ezreal to play this fight. I'm standing in the pit here looking for an opening. See Graves and Lux on top of each other. So I go for the flash EQ. Miss Graves, but I'm able to pick off Lux. And then it's really simple just chasing these guys down. So pretty good mechanics there from me. Honestly, just to go in and follow up with the flash EQ. That's something that I just like to do as soon as I can see value of hitting 2 or more enemies with a flash EQ. I do it every time. It just does so much damage of burst. It does a total of 1,000 damage because your level 5 Q with your E, well, it's level 3 E, but basically it's going to do a combined around 500 damage. Then you're going to follow up with an auto. If you're hitting 2 people with that, that's 1,000 burst damage straight away. So it's a ton of damage if you think about it. So you're going to be able to carry fights very, very easily if you're engaging like that. Obviously, then they're knocked up. You can get autos. Your teammates can follow up. So much pressure just by doing that. Now I'm a little bit discombobulated because my teammates are coming out of base. I don't need the base right now. And I have my camps only just spawned. So here I'm just going to threat these guys. I walk forward. Lux exhausts me and then I EQ out. So a really key thing for you guys to do is just hold your EQ. A lot of people would have either EQ'd away early or they would have EQ'd in. They probably wouldn't have EQ'd in, but they would have EQ'd early. I walked forward at Graves, got out the Lux exhaust, and then I just jump away because I know the enemy threat range. I know if they can kill me and chase me down. And I knew that Fizz was on bot side, so he wasn't going to be there just yet. So yeah, basically tracking where the enemies are and not instantly using your EQ can be really nice. Here, I saw Fizz looking for the bot side. I thought he was going to come from the river direction, but he didn't. Fizz then dodges my Q there, but doesn't dodge the E. Really, really nice there from me. As soon as I see Fizz use his E, I just rip my ultimate. That was the simple decision making behind that. It's not that hard, not that hard thought. And also, I have 2 items. Now I'm looking for a flank here with Fiora coming from topside, but they see me on vision, so they're going to chase me out. I am going to start basing here, but Lux is going to stop me because I'm on vision. And you can EQ while snared. If you didn't know that already, guys, you can EQ while snared. Morgana bound. There's a few different types of CC that you can stop. So the enemy team groups mid and heralds down mid. At the worst time possible, EQ onto Krugs as they start pushing down mid. So really poor timing from me. I should have just ran back mid here. But anyways, they use the Herald. They get they kill 1 tower and then they get a bunch of damage on the other. It's okay. I'm going to rotate back up here and clear out all their vision. And now we are at 20 minutes into the game. So my entire objective here is looking to try and get any kill. I want to get a kill so then I can force an objective. And who am I going to be able to kill? Well, I can actually kill everyone in this game. Unfortunately for me, Echo keeps going on solo missions instead of actually getting objectives or anything. Fortunately, he does get the kill onto Fizz here. And now my entire team groups onto bot side. So with my entire team grouped onto bot side here, I'm just going to decide, okay, well, screw it. I'm just going to invade. I'm just going to push top side. Because I can't rotate to the fight fast enough. I didn't know if there was a fight going to happen anyways. If I was the enemy team, I would have just backed off and I would have just played lanes and waves. So it's just optimal for me here to push in top wave, deal a bunch of damage to the tower. And now my team is going to chase and corral all of these guys up towards me. So I'm going to rotate down. But they opt to not run towards me and they just end up dying to Fiora and Echo. So now that we have, we've broken top tower because my team takes it. We have a bunch of push. I am going to now go and do Baron. And I think this is where the game goes wrong. So enemies are still dead. Me and Echo walk over vision onto Baron, so the enemy team does know where I'm Baron. And look at what my Xerath and Ezreal do. I pan down and I'm like, okay, come guys. Xerath starts basing. And then we're going to see Ezreal's just chilling. Ezreal's not coming. Okay, Ezreal's coming now. It's too late. My Echo has no mana. My Ezreal is now zoned out of position. I do maximum damage I can to Fizz and I have to EQ out. Now, I'm stuck trying to 50-50 this Baron. And I don't hit it. Unfortunate. Really, really, really dastardly unfortunate. I am in chat being as positive as possible in a situation like that, saying, come on, fellas. But yeah, that's... I don't know what else to say except for... Sometimes that happens in League of Legends. Sometimes your team doesn't want you to win. I can say all this cope-ass like stuff that other coaches would say, and they'll be like, yes, well, you saw that your team is not coming, so you should have backed off. Bro, we killed 4 people, and half my team just decided Baron wasn't the option for 0 reason, okay? I'm gonna stand there, and I'm gonna die. Now, if a coaching student of mine did the exact same thing I did just there, I would have said, hey, you should have backed off the dragon. Obviously, your teammates weren't coming. But listen, I get it. I get it from the perspective of the player in the moment because I was the player in the moment. All right, screw my teammates. All right. Sorry about my little rant. Back to actual real gameplay. Enemy team starts dragon here. I get exhausted by Lux. Honestly, I should have just flashed the Lux bind. That was really bad by me. I should have also ulted. I just didn't ult. I should have killed Lux way faster. I thought that I wasn't taking a bunch of damage, and then the enemy team just jumped over the wall and I took a bunch of damage. So I should have played that better, simply put. Fizz is going to dive in here. Ezreal is going to die, and my team is going to die. It's going to be painful for them. Now I'm just going to skip ahead and get back to actual gaming, because things for the next few minutes are actually going to go really wrong here, fellas. So the enemy team is going to push topside. They're going to walk into my topside. So I'm just seeing if I can get any camps here. I see that they're in the bush here. I'm going to open with an EQ. I'm really, really strong though. So I'm just going to keep going forward. I have Death's Dance. If I get kills, I'm able to 1v9. Flashing away here from Kate's autos and Fizz, but Fizz flash Qs me. And there is another death. So unfortunate gaming from Fiora. She does not use her W on the Fizz ult, that's why I was zooming in on her. So yeah, another bad play. Unfortunately, I was so strong and I was able to actually push my limits there, and I was going to be able to 2v1, but unfortunately Fizz and Lux also show up there. And I should know they are there. But my monkey brain says, oh, enemy not there, me fight. Instead of thinking, oh, I just saw the whole enemy team rotate up there 45 seconds ago. And I think that's just a little bit of frustration from me, honestly, after the Baron. And what am I to learn from this? Well, I think at this point I'd played like 8 games today, so don't play that many games because it will make you make bad decisions. Here I then, speaking of bad decisions, I walk into the enemy jungle and I die instantly. So I have had 3 real bad deaths. Like, one was trying to steal Baron, but I've had 2 very bad deaths in the span of like 2 minutes, less than. So the enemy team is going to push mid. They're going to take my inhib. And now this is where I kind of pause to myself. I've just rewound this a bunch by accident. But this is where I pause to myself and I think, okay, I'm trolling. Like, this is kind of where I give myself the mental reset of like, I was winning this game very hard. I thought it was over, and now I've entered it. So now from here, I think you're going to see a change of pace. So GP pushing top solo, me and Echo Hextech portal behind him. Very, very easy kills so far. 3 people in front of me. I actually just ult engage and go for the alpha play. Oh my god, I'm a beast. Okay, so I actually just end up 2v4ing there. I ping my Echo because I'm like, why did you not rotate? But to be honest, if I was the Echo, I would have ran too. I would not expect my Jarvan to go in there because I'm just so much of a freaking beast, bro, that I know if I hit that 4-man EQ there and ult, I'm going to do a ton of damage. That's the thing about Jarvan. If you can hit multiple people, as I mentioned before, with an EQ and ult, that's huge AoE damage. You are doing so much damage to multiple people at once. So Jarvan can instantly just end a fight very quickly with his AoE. Something really, really important for you guys to know. So having flash and fighting is super important. Now in the chat, you'll see me typing group because I just want us to all be at the dragon on time. Unfortunately, Fiora is getting a little bit of excitement and she goes for a 1v4 play. Unlucky there. So now we are stuck in a 4 versus 5 situation as the dragon starts. But I have great champions. I type in the chat flip it here because I want us to start hitting the dragon. But unfortunately, my Ezreal is hiding in a bush. So we can no longer flip the dragon, which really does suck. But here is a grave mistake from old Fizz. Fizz jumps over and engages onto my Ezreal. Ends up actually not going too badly for him. I get drastically low. Oh, I actually just die. I didn't even realize I'd die here. I thought that was where we were going to turn the game, to be honest, from my memory, and I was wrong. So I'm going to end up falling there. Fizz is going to ult me. Graves is going to ult me. And Fiora is going to just be in base taking all these things. The enemy team is going to take the dragon, and wow, back-to-back terrible plays. Why did I want to review this game? No, but seriously, it was because I played a good game. I then made back-to-back mistakes. And I think I'm actually going to be able to turn this game around. So coming out of base, what is my game plan? What am I deciding to do? My decision making here now is to do the exact same thing, except actually get a 5v5. Because if you've watched this game, which you have, we have not 5v5'd for, I don't even know, 10 minutes now. Things stopped going well as soon as Baron spawned for us, to be honest. So yeah, about 10 minutes of gameplay has just been absolutely awful for me and the rest of my team. So I'm just still playing for a good opportunity to get fights. Also, something to take note of is the enemy team took mid lane inhibitor, but they didn't do anything with it. They didn't take our bot tower. They did get 2 dragons back, but in terms of gold, they didn't really get that much success out of it. So we've been farming super minions, so the rest of my team is going to be quite strong. Also, I go for the Sterak's here. I think because of how mixed damage the enemy team is, I think Sterak's is a really good option. I don't need more armor, and I don't want to build a solo AP item just for Fizz. So, I mean MR item for Fizz, so Sterak's I think is really good. Fizz goes for a hero play onto Echo in my side lane, and we're actually going to pick him up, while the rest of his team has Baron, and they are going to push the other side lanes. So it just forces me to base. But here I'm looking for an engage. I'm looking for an opportunity to fight, and you see me pinging here. And look, I'm going to flash EQ, and every time I see 2 people, you guys see me do the same thing. I'm going to value EQ and get as much damage onto these guys. We get Fizz, and Fizz died top. We actually only end up getting Lux in that interaction. But the key thing to take away is the fact that we stopped the enemy with Baron. That's the real victory here. Now I see Caitlyn overstaying here, so I'm going to look to see if I can hunt her down. GP is going to kill my Xerath and then portal out. I see a Caitlyn trap go down near Ezreal, so I'm looking for Caitlyn here. And Caitlyn is going to base right in front of me. That's tragic. If I was faster on the trigger finger, I could have maybe smited her and stopped her base. Other than that, she's probably out of there anyways. But yeah, that sucks. See a portal coming in here, and I see Echo in the side lane without ultimate, so I assume someone's looking for him, which they are. It's Fizz. I EQ, and I just smite him over the wall. Echo ignites him over the wall, and he burns to our damage. And now I am looking for the scuttle that's about to spawn on the minimap. So here I'm just looking for picks. I'm looking for any opportunity to swing the game in my favor. I see Fiora fighting mid here, and I could have reacted faster, but I thought she was trolling. But she actually does quite a lot of damage here. She does so much work that here I'm looking for the rotate and looking for the flank. So here I get EQ'd by Lux. I get Q'd by Lux, and boom, boom, baby. Ultimate and Gore Drinker onto Lux and Caitlyn. AoE damage as always with the Jarvan. I'm going to be able to pick up both of those guys. So yeah, this build is really nice, guys. And I haven't even popped my, I didn't even pop my Sterax there, okay? So I was very, very comfortable. It looked like I was going to get low, but you just need to understand your limits with this champion. With this champion when you're going in, understand, you know, how quickly you die against a certain comp or not. Now our Hextech Dragon is spawning. Caitlyn and Lux are still dead, so I'm going to base here. Probably be by a stopwatch, I'm thinking. Yes, stopwatch, perfect. I'm going to run out of base here and run to Dragon. Now, I made a mistake here. I should have bought an elixir because I had a bunch of gold, but I couldn't buy anything because I had no slots. So I should have really bought an elixir because this fight is going to be game defining. Fizz walking up here. I think my team is picking him right now. He gets a flash. Lux and Caitlyn are still coming out of base, so I know that I can take my time here hitting this Graves. And I know Graves is going to EQ a bunch to dodge around my abilities. So I save my EQ to chase him down once he flashes away, which he does. He ends up killing my Xerath, but it's fine. Echo stalling on the bottom side. So now I'm going to rotate over here for Dragon. And we have a team advantage here. So all I'm looking for is playing with my Ezreal. And if I play with my Ezreal, we're going to be fine. There's going to be no worries here. Lux puts herself into the Dragon pick, gives me a free EQ. And look at this play. Fiora fighting, I give her an E, and she gets Caitlyn with the last auto as she's dying. I'm pretty certain the attack speed I gave this guy from my flag was the reason he got the kill. Let's break this down in slow motion. Let's just see how amazing my Jarvan mechanics are. Look, Fiora, one more auto, throws the E down for the attack speed. Boom! God, I'm good. God, I'm good. So, boys, what's that learning? Make sure you throw those E's down with the Jarvan, all right? Hero mechanics right there. But yeah, long story short, we get the Hextech Dragon. We win the fight. Fiora trades, kills that boy. And now I'm pretty good. I'm just checking if the enemy camps are up, checking if these Krugs are up, because usually Krugs get missed by teams a bunch, but these Krugs are actually down. Now I'm just going to be able to base and pick up a GA and a pot. And which pot do I decide to go with? I'm thinking red pot here. The enemy team doesn't have... I think they don't have any heal cut, or they don't have much heal cut. Let's have a look. Yes, they have no heal cut right now versus my build, which is just a tragedy with the amount of healing I do. Really bad itemization from them. So, yeah, I take the red pot. I'm going to be able to 1v9. And I've met build Exodia right here. Xerath decides to be, you know, a absolute cyber terrorist. What else can I say? Runs solo into the enemy blue buff to die. Interesting plays from the boy, but now I'm just going to sit here and look for picks. Fizz walking into this bush, running away. Lux is here, but these guys just don't do that much damage to me. Look at me. Look how much I'm healing. Boom, boom, boom. I was half HP, by the way. I'm full now. Looking for value EQs. I was tracking Caitlyn on vision before. I just keep going forward because I know I'm going to burn to death stance anyways. And now I'm going to chase down Caitlyn. And easy money. That is the game. We are going to push and end. But long story short, I want to go back to this fight real quick and break down key moments of the fight. So I'm looking for these guys. Looking for these guys in the river. I just ult Lux as soon as I can to get onto her, start beating her down. And look at Caitlyn here on the minimap. This is what really changed the fight. I see Caitlyn here in the bottom left corner of my screen. And I know that I need to save my EQ for her, because she is afraid of me right now. So I thought she walked into the bush. She's actually max range back here, so I don't hit her with the EQ. But regardless, I still force her E back, and I'm able to hit Graves as well. So I'm looking for those value EQs, and I'm tracking Caitlyn in the corner of my eye, knowing who I actually need to save my EQ for. And then, yeah, we end the game. We win the game. So, yeah, we push end and that's it. So that is what goes through my mind post-game. That's my thoughts. That's my feelings of how I should play Jarvan in the moment. You saw me absolutely win the early game. You saw me into the mid game. And then you saw me play some pretty mean team fights with a really, really nice heal build. So I hope you guys enjoyed that game. If you have any questions, ask away. Let's go into the final bit. All right, hello everyone. I am live in a game right now, and I'm going to be commentating this one for you guys, so you guys get an understanding of what goes through my brain and my thought process in a real-time event. Well, first off, my team's getting invaded, but I need to decide between which smite. I'm going to go green smite because the enemy team has a bunch of CC. They have Rammus, they have and Thresh, and they have Vayne Condemn. They don't have an immense amount of CC, but definitely enough that tenacity is quite valuable. Here we do not win level 1, so let's just back off and hope these guys back off. Teemo grouped here for the invade, actually. I'm just going to split the map here and go take red. We don't win level 1. There's nothing we can do about it. We actually should win level 1. We just weren't grouped and we took too much chunk, I guess. Yeah, we actually did win that level 1. That's my mistake for not being there early, but it is what it is. Rammus and... yeah, Rammus is definitely not the strongest champion early, but they're going to get away with it. It's fine. I'm just going to smite this and go straight to this guy's Krugs, and I'm just going to clear this guy's entire top side. My goal in this game is to farm as much as I can and counter Rammus. I don't really need to play proactively this game because yes, as Jarvan you do like to play proactively and get leads, but also at the same time, if I'm able to just match Rammus, then his game is ruined, because Rammus doesn't like power farming. Rammus just likes ganking, and it looks like Rammus will probably want to gank bot side here because he... well, we saw him path to his blue. So I'm just going to put all these on cooldown. No real need to do anything crazy. I could have ran through mid there and ganked, but it's okay. Yeah, I should have been probably going for that. It is what it is. My bot lane is going to die here, unfortunately. Nothing I can really do about that. But I'm just going to keep farming here, because I'm going to get very far ahead of Rammus. Rammus has only done 2 camps. It is what it is. Kali pushing in. Top pushing in. Rammus maybe on these Raptors here. Unlikely invade, but possible. He does have 3 pushing lanes right now. This is something to be respectful of as well. Like, when an enemy team here, guys, has a ton of priority, you don't need to do anything. You can just chill. You don't need to play aggressive here. I'm gonna go try and fight this scuttle here. Rammus did take these Raptors. Akali using her shroud very early here. Rammus dead. Oh, I thought these guys based. Bad camera control by me. Popping a potion while hitting. Saving my EQ. This guy's gonna go down. Akali is here too. She has TP, so she can't kill me. Kali goes down. I'm just gonna take Scuttle here. It's only a level 1 Gromp, and Rammus is respawning right now, so no need for me to overstay for that. Rammus's Krugs. Rammus did red Raptors, so he hasn't done any of these camps right now. I'm just gonna go down and do Krugs. It's not easy for me to re-gank topside here, and it's probably best for me to stay on topside just in case of a potential instant re-gank. I assume Rammus is on Krugs though, if he's read the map accordingly and knows where he should be. He could also be top right now. We need to be scared of this. We're gonna go Tiamat first item here because it builds into Ravenous Hydra. Ravenous Hydra is really strong right now. Probably by the time you guys are watching this, it may get nerfed. So if you are watching the nerfed version of Ravenous Hydra, then you would probably be building Gore Drinker first. And I'll address that in the build section of the video, which you've probably already watched, but I'll address it there as well. Ram is still not showing anywhere on the map. I'm kind of confused now of to what this guy's... Okay, here he is. Okay, wow, that's so good for me. Okay, now I can full clear all the way down to my bottom side. Rammus just hit the plant there. We've pinged Vex probably 50 times that she's going to get ganked, but she's probably going to die anyway somehow. Maybe. Nope, she dies. Well, nothing you can do about that, guys. When a teammate... When someone sucks, someone sucks. So, we're going to let that guy die. Rammus is going to be on bot side here soon. I'm just going to pick up the wave. And some people would save this for their mid laner. Me, I'm not so kind. Rammus is on bot side now. So I'm going to just ping that. And then I'm going to look to counter soon. Because Rammus definitely wants to relieve his bot lane. But it's super important I just get my camps on cooldown. Screw over ganking. Screw doing any crazy stuff. Looks like bot lane here is basing, so I'm actually going to start dragon. Buff for the dragon knockback? Nope, missed it. I suck. Enemy bot lane is in base right now, so yeah, this should be a free dragon. Akali is quite strong in the river skirmishes, so we need to be a little bit afraid of her coming to fight me. So I'll just spam ping for my team. Make sure they come. We were on a ward. Let's get back here. Oh, wow. Tried to cancel her ultimate. That's tragic. Both those guys are going to fall. Thresh looking for a party or something right now. I'm going to pull red. I'm not sure. Okay. Looks like I'm not getting invaded. Vex will make it back to mid lane in time, so I shouldn't have to catch mid. Potential gank here bottom lane if Thresh and Vayne overstay. They definitely can. But maybe not. No, they're not. Alright, I'm going to pick up this wave then. Vayne is staying. I mean, she does stay. Alright, I get the wave. I wish I had more gold for Ravenous on base. That sucks. Oh well, just gonna have to base and suck it up. Go top side here. Go top side here. My god, these guys are going crazy. Mid's probably gonna look to engage here. This guy used his spear. Yep. No W. If you guys don't know, level 1 Akali W is 20 seconds. So this is definitely punishable here for me. This could be warded. Not warded. Wow. How to ruin a gank with Vex. Jeez Louise. What an awful player. I don't want to take those, bro. I'm gonna smite this early. Mordekaiser has rotate. We can go on Akali here. Vex, fucking walk, man. Akali's hinting. Ult to 1, secure the kill, but 2, make sure I get the shutdown gold as well, because I think my Vex is a little bit of a cyborg. Teemo playing a little bit aggressively here, but we did see Rammus on top side too. Potential gank opportunity, but just free Herald here in general. So I'm just going to rip this first. I can look for Teemo after if he overextends. Rammus. I'm just going to smite this. I don't see a gank opportunity. Oh, I do now. EQ to get there faster. Nice work. We can break this tower with Herald. Yep. Akali goes bot side. Rammus is bot side. Wow, my bot lane got a double kill too. Huge. We're going to beat this tower down, and then we're going to Herald when it's at 2 platings. We're going to Herald now. Hopefully Mordekaiser keeps hitting this. And this should die. Wow, it doesn't die. That's crazy. Herald's so weak now. Season 13, by the way. Anyways, Rammus's Krug's down. Okay. But overall, looking good so far. Going to base here and probably look to path towards bot. Dragon spawning soon. What should we buy against these guys? I'm going to go Merc Treads. I think there's a fair bit of CC. And they simultaneously have a bunch of magic damage in Rammus, Akali, Teemo. Even Thresh has a little bit. So it's a good Merc Treads game. I actually don't build Merc Treads. It's probably the least boots. It's probably the boots I build least often. But still nonetheless are quite good in the right situation. I think steel caps are usually the best, or Ionians. Those are definitely my top 2, but Mercs are after that. I want Morgana here to rotate up. Come, please. Oh, dangerous. Getting a lot of missing things for some reason from my team. They're not actually doing anything. Alright, I'm just going to let my team chase that guy down. I'm going to take this and heal. Alright, nice work by my team. When Akali jumped in there on me, I EQ'd to try and, well, make sure I secure my damage onto her, because something about skirmishing against an Akali is the fact that she can dodge your EQ very easily. So if you're able to ever secure it, it's really nice to do so. I don't think I can kill Vayne here. Nope, I can't. Oh, team! Team! Come here, boys! Oh my god, they didn't even walk forward. Wow. Ridiculous play from Jinx. Jesus, man. What a... Jinx and Morgana just not following up there. Crazy from them. Whoa, 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 whoa. Akali flash. Ridiculous plays from her too. Wow. Bad things happening right now. Okay, so what was happening there was I was thinking if Vayne ever misuses her condemn, I can actually cancel her condemn with my EQ if I do it at the perfect timing, and then I could have killed her. But she never used her condemn. I was looking for the animation. It is really hard to hit. But instead she just autoed me and I ended up getting punished for it. And then I thought the boys would be there to back me up, but it didn't work. So I'm just going to continue farming here regardless. Top camps are spawning. Akali has no flash, but she does have ultimate now, so do need to be careful of getting into a skirmish with her. I do have Merc Treads though, so I'm quite strong. More Rammus is on bot side. Only need to be concerned by Teemo. Teemo shows on top, never mind. Thresh could also be roaming. Now that we've taken bot tower as well, I do want my duo bot mid lane, which it looks like they're rotating for now. If Teemo overextends here, he's definitely gankable. Akali, no W, very killable right now. I'm just going to sit here and see if anyone face checks me. Teemo might rotate down. We can dive Akali here. Let's dive these guys. Not possible. It's fine. Push this in. Bot camps are down because we saw Rammus up there. Scuttle is up. I don't want these guys to siege this now. I have a lot of gold. Teemo very high up. I'll see if I can go for this kill. Have to be careful of shrooms. Oh, speaking of. Couldn't even get through those, unfortunately. Hello, little buddy. Yeah, bastard. Ult him just so in case he goes to kill my Vex. There's another shroom there from memory. These guys are overstaying a lot mid. There's no reason for them to be here right now, but it is what it is. I'm gonna stay for Scuttle, which gives me enough gold for Death's Dance. Actually, Gore Drinker. Whoops, what am I thinking? Gore Drinker is better second item. So the build right now, Ravenous Hydra, and then Gore Drinker, and then it kind of varies. If you're just carrying, for example, this game, I'm 402, you'll probably want to go Death's Dance. I think Death's Dance is quite a good option there. But if you're not carrying, then you can do a lot of items. There's a huge variation of items you can go. You can go defensive items, you can go supportive items. I've listed them out all in this video, so you guys just take a look at those. You know, Black Cleaver as well, because it's kind of, it is supportive, but it's also a damage item as well. Peak Optimism OCE, what a nice guy. He says he's gonna roam with me. What a sweetheart. All right, well, that means I guess I have a shotgun in my back pocket. I've got a little Vex. I think bot camps are either they just got taken or they're up. Oh, bye-bye. Ah, shit, he took it already. Whoops. Terrible by me. Old man hands, I guess. Gromp spawning. That means wolves should be spawning soon too, I think, which is nice. I'll smite this. We can fight. Hello, buddy. Trying to make sure that this guy can't click the lantern, but he can anyways. Jinx just solo pushing up here. Gonna push this wave in. Vex fighting. Definitely kill this guy if we hit anything. Nope. Morg doesn't go for the bind. Sad. My cannon. Thank you. If Rammus walks up too far, he will die. Force Akali out. I just saw it, boys. The flash EQ was there. All right, well, now we just siege in here, but it's 17 minutes into the game, so we actually shouldn't take this inhib. No, it's bad because they have Vayne, right? So they have Vayne. Vayne can kill supers. So yeah, Vayne can farm the super minions really easily, so we don't want to take inhib there because it's so early into the game. If something like Baron was up and we could use the inhib to get if we could use the Baron to get sorry, I'm stroking out right now. If we could use the mid inhib to get Baron, then it would make a difference. Then we should take it. But for now, Vayne would have had a whole 2.5 minutes of free farming an inhib. And that would be really, really bad for us. So taking inhibs before 20 minutes is usually a bad idea. This guy wants blue. I want this. You don't want this. In here, I mean, Herald. We should probably use Herald to take side lanes here. Or we can use it to end the game if they take a bad fight. Teemo pushing up way too far here. Never mind, he's got a whole... Jeez. Fighting mid. This guy's gonna die. Jinx will die. Kali no ult, Akali no W. Just gonna try get in range. Terrible binding. Water guy's gonna put that guy... Wow, Mordekaiser can't hit a thing. Let's go, boys. Really wish Morgana was playing a little bit more aggressive than me there, but it's fine. Still got Vayne in my ultimate there. Yoink. I'm taking that blue. Thank you very much, buddy. I've seen a few Morganas building Liandry's. I think it's pretty bad. It's not like she's doing that much damage, but it is. And also in this game specifically, I have Mordekaiser and Vex, so we don't want triple AP. So yeah, I really disagree with her build right now. No reason for me to be on bot side here. Rammus spots me. Hello, buddy. I'm a base, and then we're gonna start redeploying and playing for Baron. If the enemy team ever overshows on bot side, then we can just rip Baron as fast as possible. Jinx going the absolute terrible combo. The rapid fire plus Kraken combo literally makes 0 sense, but whatever. I think Kraken is a great item. I think rapid fire can be a good item on its own, but together they are bad. Missed the cannon. Enemy team fighting bot while I'm topside, and Kali has TP. Really rough from them. I'm gonna rotate here. Vayne did show bot side, so it is a 4v4. Just EQing to get in range here. Big ult. Alright, we'll do Baron. Freest League of Legends game of my life. That was a huge freaking ult, dude. Vayne stays bot side. Teemo has no smite or anything. Alright, nice. Okay, so we should probably look to end this game now. So I'm gonna have a Herald, so we can just 5v5 mid and end the game. I'm gonna buy Death Stance here. Death Stance and probably just Ruby Crystal. Ruby Crystals are the best items. One of the best items in the game based on gold value. Like 400 gold for 150 health is really, really nice. Really, really nice stat line. I'm just gonna take this red and then we'll 5 mid. Team's gonna siege top here. 3v5, real bad. Vex showing bot side. I think my Vex is a little bit bad. So I'm gonna have to just gonna do this. Make an inhib play. They haven't even started rotating yet. Here's Teemo. Hello, little fella. I can't auto attack you, but I can kill you. Q. Waiting for Vayne to show up. Hello, buddy. Careful of Akali. My Herald is gonna run out. Can I get it down? Can. Push mid and end, boys. I have so much healing in my kit, so I'm just gonna keep autoing and just heal up. That's the power of these triple healing items, boys. You just go low and then you just fight again. Herald takes that down. I don't have ult, so I don't feel truly comfortable going in. I will throw out my Qs for poke. I don't want to back off. I want to end. End the bloody game. End the bloody... We win fights. We win, we win, we win. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, baby. Trying to get an ult range of this guy. Gore Drinker proc. You can see Jinx typing in chat. Let's get Soul, guys. No, end the game, man. All right. Too easy, boys. That is a 909 Jarvan game. I am a little bit higher reload than this. I hit challenges this year, and this is a platinum game, so a little bit unfair, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys liked the thought process. If you have any questions, always feel free to ask in the comments below, and we'll continue with the video. I've been working on this Jarvan guide for about 2 to 3 months now, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys want coaching from me, check it out in the description. Like, subscribe, do all those things if you enjoyed the video. Other than that, I'm Udysof, and I'll catch you in the next one.